Whipta if I told my husband he has to choose between me and his friend. I've, 37F, been with my husband, 44M, for 17 years. We have kids, a dog, and we used to own a business together. He has this friend, who happens to be his little brother's ex-girlfriend, 30F. She's been in and out of our lives since she broke up with my BL over 12 years ago. Over the last 4 years or so, she's been constantly messaging my husband. She never sends me a message, unless my husband tells her that he's not home and she's on her way. Happened only once in 4 years, she's engaged and has a baby on the way. Both my husband and his friends say they have a brother-sister relationship. My kids don't like her or her kid. Her kid is 7 years younger than our youngest child. They feel like they have to babysit her when she comes over. This is what bothers me about their relationship. I am never included in their conversations online, even when she invites herself over. My husband once told his brother that he thought that she was hot and if he was younger and single he would try to date her. My BL sent me a message to warn me about their relationship. When I spoke to my husband about it, he laughed it off and told me his brother was jealous. During an intimate moment my husband told me that she was the only person he would ever ask to do a threesome with us. That was never discussed between us before, not even the option of a threesome. When she comes over, she barely speaks directly to me, always to my husband. I have to butt into the conversation for her to even acknowledge me. I'm tired of feeling like the third wheel in their friendship. Last year he gave me one of his old cell phones because mine had broken. He hadn't logged out of his Messenger account so I used it to my advantage and read their messages at the time. He had admitted to her that he had told his brother that she was hot and that if he was younger and single he would date her. He then told her I wasn't home when he said that and I didn't know exactly what he said. Her response was to send him this emoji rolling on the floor laughing. Ever since, I feel like they both occasionally disrespect me in their conversations. All he does is talk about her. Often. He never makes her wait when she texts him. Yet sometimes when I text him, he takes a half hour to answer me. So tell me, would I be the asshole if I told him that he had to choose between his relationship with me and his friend? Comments. Commenter 1. NTA but be prepared to follow through if he doesn't pick you. Reply, that's what I'm telling myself. Commenter 2. I would talk to a lawyer to see what divorce would look like, so you're prepared and can start getting your ducks in a row. Update. We've had several talks over the last few weeks. At first he wanted to work things out. As a matter of fact, he says he never meant any of it and he keeps apologizing for breaking my trust. Now he's being a plain dick. Then he flipped and decided that since I don't want to work on things he left for his brother's house. He hasn't seen our kids in the past month. He talks to them on the phone but that's about it. So far, to piss me off, he's cut mine and the kids' cell phone service, so I had to get us new SIM cards for that because otherwise we wouldn't have phones. He's refused to pay anything in regards to school supplies and uniforms. He doesn't want to give me a dime. He hasn't done his taxes this year, which means I won't get any family allowance, CCTB, which cuts me $1,800 a month on my budget. I was able to sign the kids up for a local school supply distribution. The only thing they don't help with is the uniforms. Thankfully only my older two need uniforms. My oldest has some old uniform shirts that will be passed down to my other child. Which means my daughter will be wearing her older brother's shirts. She's really annoyed by the situation and has been giving me lots of attitude about it, but at the moment I can't afford t-shirts at $35 a piece with the school's logo on it, so she has no choice. Unfortunately uniforms are mandatory. I spoke to his friend as well. I told her everything that was going on. He told her he left me because I cheated on him, which isn't true, and she blames herself for what happened. Personally I just think she was putting on a show. I haven't spoken to her since. If you ask me, I still think she is a hypocrite. Finances are tough. I barely make ends meet. Thankfully food banks exist because once rent is paid, I barely have anything left over for bills and groceries. I still haven't been able to get the money for a lawyer yet. I've tried taking loans, but that didn't go over well. I've tried to borrow sub and that hasn't worked either. Now it's like we're in a state of Cold War. He refuses to talk to me. For the time being. I guess he'll come around eventually for the kids' sake I hope. I feel like sometimes I'm drowning in all this mess. Edit. Lots of comments have come up on this post. I didn't expect as many comments. I've read as many as I can and I'll address a few points. He's gone to stay with his other brother. The second one in the family. My STBX is the oldest of 3. It's the youngest of his brothers who told me what's up. I filed my taxes back in March. He was supposed to file his a few weeks later. At the time everything was good between us and I listed him as my spouse because that's what we've been doing for the past 17 years since we got married. I have to file my next taxes as single. The school uniforms. My oldest kids are in high school. A public high school. Uniforms are mandatory across the school board. I've contacted the school and unfortunately they don't have any low-cost uniforms. They suggested I take a look at local thrift shops. They do have an emergency budget for uniforms, but only if you have recently arrived in the country. I've contacted several lawyers. I know what my rights are. I know how much it's going to cost me to take him to court. He's quit his job, so suing him for alimony or whatever is going to be tough. I don't qualify for legal aid based on previous taxes. It takes at least 90 days of him being out of the family home for me to do anything against him. He's been gone for less than 2 weeks. As for family, I have been no contact with my parents since 2010. They do not know my younger children, nor do they care. I won't be getting into the reasons why here. His family has always been low contact with us. His parents have never liked me, and his brother who is staying with doesn't like me either. Edit 2, for those who are saying that the timeline doesn't add up. I left with my 4 kids at the beginning of July to visit my elderly grandmother who doesn't live in the same province as us. It was supposed to give us breathing time to try and work things out. When I came back with the kids he was already gone. When I was at my grandmother's he would barely talk to me, but talk to our kids via messenger. My trip with the kids to my grandmother's is a yearly trip. I didn't know that he would go from wanting to stay and work things out to leaving. I was blindsided by that. Edit 3, I do have a PayPal account. I'm not going to start making posts on FB blasting him. I'm not setting up a GoFundMe either. I don't want him finding anything out. I don't want to get charged with trying to ruin his reputation either. I don't want him to have anything to use against me in court. Comments. Commenter 1. Go file for child support at your local courthouse. You can utilize self-help to assist with filling out forms. Also, get some alimony just to be an AH. Commenter 2. I would file for divorce and ask for immediate financial support and full custody of the kids as he has had no physical contact with them. Stop playing with your kids' stability and mental health. Move forward and be their parent. Soon-to-be ex can go play with his friends. Update. It's been a long while since I've updated everyone about what's going on. It's been almost 8 long months since he left. Everyone was right when they said he would end up with her. They got married in a civil ceremony on Christmas Day. The only time he asked me for the kids was for the 2 weeks during Christmas break. He wanted them there for his wedding apparently. He barely talks to the kids now. The kids text him several times a week to let him know what's up with school and their activates. He barely answers them. When he does, he complains about how I won't let him take them overnight. He still posts pictures of his new family daily on social media, they are still taking weekend trips and all that. I hate how he's flaunting everything for our older kids to see. Our oldest is going to college in the fall, and he's worried about covering his school fees. When he tried talking to his dad about it, his dad told him that now he's almost an adult, so it's not his problem anymore. I did take him to court. I found myself a good lawyer who took on my case for free that we had our first court date last week. It went well. I got full custody of the kids. We have another court date to determine child support. He's still not working legally, so the judge is having a hard time setting an amount for child support. So far all the documents he brought to court show that he is on welfare and that his new wife pays their rent, bills and vacations. I don't buy any of that. Neither does the court. He's ordered by the court to provide documentation that he's done his taxes this year and he has to try and place himself within the job market in a reasonable amount of time in order to provide for the children he does have. Our next court date is in April, hopefully he's going to get his shit sorted out. As for me, I'm still working 2 jobs to make ends meet. I'll be moving next month with the kids into an apartment in a co-op building. My rent will be much lower than what I am paying now. I'm stressing out about my finances, moving is expensive, I have to hire a company to help me move all our stuff. Plus with my son starting college soon, summer break and all that, I'm stressed out all day, every day. All I see are expenses coming up. I'm still exhausted all the time. I work more than I am at home with my kids. I hope that within the next year, things get better for us. I've started my own small business online, hopefully that picks up too. I haven't started dating either. I'm not interested in meeting anyone yet. For those of you who wrote to me saying I blew up my life and family and called me the asshole in this situation, I don't think I was the asshole. I deserve better. If I am to ever update this again, it will be on my own page. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm proud of you op. I know it's tough now but you will come through on the other side stronger than you were before. Commenter 2. His wife will end up paying his child support most likely depending on the state. Reply, we are in Canada. They aren't legally married yet. They only did a civil ceremony and didn't have a marriage license. My ex admitted this in court. Their marriage has no legal value for the moment. Knowing how he is, they won't ever get a marriage license. Commenter 3. I'm sure in Canada legally married or not they may be considered common law partners, depending on how long they've been together. If that's the case, ask your lawyer if they can review their earnings as a household since she's apparently paying for everything. Reply. They have only been together since August or September if my memory serves me right. Stories number 2. My daughter wants me and her stepdad to walk her down the aisle. Am I wrong for telling my daughter no? My daughter is getting married in a few months, and she has asked both me and her stepdad to walk her down the aisle. I divorced my daughter's mom more than a decade ago, and I know my daughter has a close bond with her stepdad, but I just won't put myself out of my comfort zone anymore. I told my daughter she has to choose between him and me to walk her down the aisle. I told her I won't care if she chooses him, but there's just no way I'm walking together with him. My daughter has been really conflicted and she has even cried a lot of times, and tried to change my mind, but I am firm in my decision. My ex-wife and even the stepdad have called me multiple times and tried to change my mind, and I told them no. I have sacrificed myself enough for my family, and oftentimes at expense of me being comfortable, but it is time I put my comfort first. Am I wrong? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Info. Did your ex-wife cheat on you with your daughter's stepdad? Reply. No, at least not that I know of. But he was her guy best friend from childhood, so the whole thing put a sour taste in my mouth. And given that she got with him just a month after the divorce, it wouldn't surprise me if she did cheat and kept it hidden from me. Commenter 2. I can understand your anger. But if you're worried about her choosing him as a father over you, this is how you make that fear come true. Whether or not you think her love for him as a father figure is justified, do not miss the opportunity to walk her down the aisle. You'll never have another chance to right that wrong. Your love for her is stronger than your pride, right? Commenter 3. As a stepdad who walked his daughter down the aisle with her biological father, I would say put your feelings aside and look at it from your daughter's perspective. She loves you both and wants both of you. You're wrong, from my perspective. Please do this for her, you'll regret it. Also, he and I realized from that moment on that we could be adults and get along. Commenter 4. You chose the wrong time and occasion to draw boundaries and choose your own comfort. Commenter 5. Yes, you're wrong. It's her wedding. Stop being so selfish. Her wedding is not the time for you to put your comfort first. In fact, it's the opposite. Update. I have decided to walk my daughter down the aisle with her stepdad. The comments on my last post gave me valuable insight, and I slept on it overnight and decided to sacrifice my comfort one final time for my daughter's special day. I let my daughter know and she was really happy and grateful and she even cried. Her mom and stepdad too called me, and they were both really grateful. Having said all that, I do feel a bit emotionally numb. I have sacrificed my comfort for my daughter again, which I guess is what's expected of a parent. But I have also sacrificed my comfort for someone, who at the end of the day, never really cared about me or my comfort. My best friend came over to my house the other night. She commended me for my decision but also asked me how I feel about my daughter. I told her I don't know. I don't feel any love, or any hate for that matter. I just feel indifferent. She told me if I would be eager and excited to be a potential grandfather in the future and have grandchildren, and I told her I don't really care. My best friend then told me I still had half my life ahead of me and it was time I put myself first after giving so much for people who don't really care about me. I do agree with her, and I now want to spend my time with the people who mean the most to me, and at this point, my daughter isn't one of those people. That's probably my final update. Thank you all for the advice. Top comments. Commenter 1. I think therapy might be really beneficial for you. Commenter 2. I agree that therapy may be beneficial for you. The numb feeling isn't a good sign and needs to be worked out. Leaving it alone could cause issues down the line. Family counseling could also help y'all talk things out. Commenter 3. After this update, I kinda wish OP just said no and let the stepfather walk her down the aisle by himself. It's really going to ruin the moment for her when she realizes her father doesn't like her after the wedding. Commenter 4. Op, are you okay? Like mentally? Reading this, it's really hard to tell if you just don't give a shit about your daughter, or if you're like severely depressed. If you truly just don't give a shit about your daughter, I dunno, maybe you're a shit father person or maybe there's some history there, not really my business, but okay, that is what it is. But all the talk about feeling numb and indifferent and shit absolutely comes across as maybe a sign of depression or some other mental issue. I'd really suggest talking to someone, especially a professional if you feel this way often. Take care of yourself, OP. Stories number 3. Aita for how I reacted to my husband's ex-wife's girlfriend buzzing my stepson's hair. This is a throwaway and all names have been changed. To explain the relationships here, I, 30F, married my husband, Alex 31M about a year ago, but we've been together for 4 years. He was previously married and after they had agreed to divorce, she told him she was pregnant. We'll call his ex Kate, 30F. Kate had been cheating on Alex with Jess, 32F, for about a year. I had known Alex for years through mutual friends and I met his son when he was 6 months old. So present day, Kate and Jess are together still, but very hot and cold. I went to pick up my stepson from school, Jess had dropped him off, and he seemed quiet and sad. I asked him what was wrong and he said he was sad because he had no hair. He has beautiful curly hair. He told us he wanted to grow out into a mullet. At that time, my husband cleared it with his mom that they were both okay with that, and she agreed to have me trim it as needed like around his ears. He took his hat off and it was buzzed down to his scalp. I was shocked but just said, well, I think you look very handsome but I thought you wanted to grow it out, why did you cut it? Apparently Jess was going to trim it and forgot to put a guard on. When she realized that, it was too late and she had to buzz it. When we got home I called Kate. She didn't know how bad the haircut was and was tied up at a work event. She suggested I make sure I get the whole story on what happened, so with her permission I went right to Jess after I called my husband, who was driving home from a couple hours away, and explained what was going on. So I called Jess, asked to verify what he said and tell her how upset he was. She said that is exactly what happened but didn't see why it was such a big deal. She kept saying I'm overreacting and it's just hair, so I tried to explain that as a kid there's so much he doesn't get a say in, so it was a big deal to him. I told her she should never go near his head with clippers again. She came back with, well, you're not his mom, and when I reminded her she wasn't either she said, I'm a hell of a lot closer than you, I've been there since day one, to which I said, yeah, because you were an affair partner. Don't cut his hair again, and hung up. I called my husband back to explain everything and calm down. He had been on the phone with Kate discussing things as well, and I texted Kate to give an overview and say I was sorry if I overreacted. It's the next day and Jess is trying to tell Kate I shouldn't be allowed to cut his hair if she can't, and I need to get my parenting privileges taken away. I think that's crazy. And just to clarify my role as a stepparent, Kate and my husband meet twice a year alone to discuss parenting things, and at the last one Kate said she is comfortable with seeing me as a parent and is ready to include me in the meetings going forward. But Aita for being upset with Jess for not only buzzing his hair but for how she reacted trying to minimize it. Some of comments. Commenter, I'm going to say you're NTA but your husband and Kate should be handling these things. If I was in your shoes I would have done the same though. When you break it down, you and Jess are each just partners to his parents and they should be the ones taking care of these things. He's not an object to take away from people and to fight over. Not sure how Kate didn't see her son's hair before anyways. Reply, Kate was at work already, that's why she didn't see it. And my husband was driving on his way back from a work offsite, which is why I picked him up. Kate and my husband don't communicate very well, part of the divorce, so about 2 years ago the three of us talked and agreed that it made sense for me and Kate to communicate pretty regularly. It works for us, not for everyone. And Kate agreed that especially after we got married, I do get a say in how he's raised. Not as much as her and my husband of course. Commenter, I love that y'all have a relationship where she's okay for you to step into the mom role and advocate for her son, but, and this is just my personal opinion, it ain't my business. I think using the stepparent as a go-between for the actual parents is super messy. If it works for you, I'm happy for you. Every situation is different and that's 100% okay. I just think it's a really fantastic way to cause issues in the long run. Reply, that's fair, we talked a lot about it and the majority of our conversations happen within a co-parenting app so everyone can see and respond. Like a specialized group chat. First it was just Alex and Kate, but they agreed together to add me in there as well. We have lines drawn in our communication that help us. The mullet. We were actively respecting his wishes. He saw someone with a mullet, said he wanted to grow his hair like that. So Alex texted Kate and said, he wants a mullet, any objection? She said nope. Like 2 weeks later I texted her and asked, are you okay with me shaping his hair a little around the ears for his mullet? And she said yes. To a downvoted comment accusing OOP of not comforting him and making him feel better. I did do a lot to help him, but did not list it all in this post because it's not what I was asking about. I told him he is so handsome, we talked about how to handle it if kids at school say anything, I got him some temporary hair color spray and made some stencils so he could pick a fun design if he wanted. His dad shaved his head as soon as he got home, but one night doesn't fix his feelings, so yeah he was still sad when he went to school because he's learning about handling his feelings. Update post. I ended posting this in a couple places so I figured I'd put one update on this account for anyone who goes through the effort to check for one. My husband talked to Kate about why Jess would do that and react how she did while he was driving home. Kate admitted she has noticed Jess asking questions about what I do, and saying little digs at me around their son. Like he will tell a story from our house and she'll find a way to say something negative about me. She lightly called her out on this one time and Jess had a really negative response. Kate and my husband were going to meet tomorrow to talk about it, but Kate called me very upset saying they got in a fight. She doesn't have a lot of family, so this isn't the first time she has called me needing someone to talk to that knows the whole dynamic. I said she could come over and talk about it if she wanted and she took me up on it. So she came over, we all played Hot Wheels for a bit, seeing their son obviously helped calm her down, and then I took him to the playroom while Alex and Kate talked. Apparently Jess is tired of not being treated like as much of a parent as me in her eyes and cut his hair on purpose, basically to make a parenting decision that couldn't be reversed. That came out in a heated blow up from her when Kate insisted she was okay with me cutting his hair so he could have the style he wanted since I was good at it. Some more heated words were shared and Jess gave Kate the ultimatum of, treat me as good as you do her or we're done, then she stormed off and Kate called me. Next, Kate and Alex came in and talked to their son alone and asked some gentle questions about Jess while they played. He said sometimes she yells and he doesn't like it, she has spanked him, and he wouldn't be sad if she wasn't there. We all ate dinner together so our son could see that everything was okay, and we all told him how many fun things we could do with his hair as it grows back. He will be going to a professional for cuts though. After Kate went home, my husband even buzzed his head and told our son that he thought it was so cool he wanted to match him. As of now, Kate is planning to end things for good and I sure hope it sticks. That's all I got folks. Some of comments. Commenter, personally I don't think you should bother with a professional. His mom thinks you're good at it and it's a lovely little way for your and your son together bond. Hell, I'd make a day of it where you take care of dad's and son's hair. Family style days FTW. Reply, I appreciate that. His mom did take him to a barber once and he had a miserable time, and ever since then I have been doing it, per her request actually. Doing it made her nervous and she figured hair could be something he could share with his dad's household. My husband always just cut his hair with one guard length, his mom did it when he was younger, he's literally never been to a barber. I got him to agree to try a different style if I did it, so I watched hours of tutorials and my amazing hairdresser even showed me some tips. It's usually bonding time for us. Then anytime I cut my husband's hair, I would cut his son's too and he got to be just like dad. Commenter, wow, she sounds like a mess, I'm sorry you and especially this boy have to deal with her. Can we all agree this kid has gone through a lot of changes and maybe it's best to try to simplify his life instead of trying to work so many new relationships into it? Reply, that's fair. Kate and Alex both agreed on when I met their son because Kate didn't clear Jess being involved and they fought about that and agreed that she should have. If things are really over between Kate and Jess for good then Alex and Kate will have to agree on the timing for any of her future partners to meet him. If things aren't over, then Alex will insist on defining new guidelines for Jess. He has already called and removed her from the school pickup list. Commenter, this is fake AF. Yeah, cause your husband is totally gonna want the woman who cheated on him coming to you with her problems like your besties. Reply, thanks to a hell of a lot of therapy he's pretty good at separating ex-wife who cheated on me from mother of my child. And he understands that for his son's sake, he needs to support her where he can. No matter what happened between them, our house is a safe place for her. Final update post. I had no intentions of posting another update, but I have gotten a lot of DMs asking if anything has changed, so here is a final update before I log out of this throwaway. Kate and Jess met to talk and I don't know everything that was said, but all I do know is that Kate then told us she would be filing for a restraining order against Jess and asked for my help because unfortunately I have had to file for one before. Then, Kate and Alex met at our house and talked over what that means for their son, and that conversation turned into what my role is as a parent. Kate and Alex are now in the process of amending their parenting agreement, which frankly they said was overdue anyway because he's a toddler now and all these agreements were made when he was an infant and their divorce was really raw. They asked me if I would be comfortable being written into the agreement to have things like the ability to take him to the doctor, be a designated contact, and a next of kin if anything happens to them, etc. They will also add in guidelines for introducing future partners. A lot of commenters said I needed to back off and let the parents handle this. While there are things I for sure could have done differently, I spoke with both Alex and Kate and they both agreed they were thankful for how this happened and were glad I was the one who picked him up that day. But overall, Kate is upset. Kiddo is picking out the stencils that he wants to spray designs into his hair as it grows out. All schools and family members have been informed that Jess is no longer allowed near anyone in this family on either side, and some important conversations have been had. Stories number 4. Aita for telling my mother if she brings up my hair again, I will go NC with her. Quick background, I, 42F, was on chemo about 2 years ago and most of my hair fell out. My hair is growing back, but it's patchy, so I tend to wear wigs when out in public. I've been keeping my hair very short until it completely fills in, which my doctor says may or may not happen. My mom, 76F, started making these comments about 6 months after all of my hair fell out that I looked like a boy, and last she checked she gave birth to a girl. At first, I ignored it, but then she started making the comment at just about every family and church function, to the point other people even started to comment that she's being mean and downright rude. I did let it go a lot, even defending her to family that she's coping with me being on chemo and all that entails, and this is just how she's doing it. A couple nights ago, my mom came over to visit. I didn't have the wig on because I don't wear it when I'm home. My son, 8M, made a comment to my mom about the green wig my husband, 44M, bought me and how he thought it was so cool I could just change my hair color overnight. My mom looked right at me and said, "You look like a boy, I remember giving birth to a girl." My son just stared at my mom. I don't know if she's ever made the comment in front of him before. I was frustrated and fed up with other things that happened that day and just snapped. I told my mom she needed to leave. My mom got really upset and started insisting that it's just harmless teasing. My son said something about his mom not being a boy and Nana being rude, but I don't remember all of it. I just asked her to leave again. She did pick up her things, but she kept defending herself, calling me childish and saying that the chemo has made me too sensitive about my hair. I snapped at her that if she brought up my hair one more time, I would go completely no contact with her and she would not be allowed to see my son. My son told my husband about it when he got home, but my husband already knew about it. My mom had sent him a bunch of texts claiming I was rude to her, my son was rude to her, I was being petty and childish, I don't love her, and it was all just harmless teasing. My husband told her she owed me an apology and she's not allowed over again until she gives me one. I guess where I'm doubting myself a little is that she called my brother about it and he's defending her, saying she didn't handle me being on chemo well and she thought I was going to die. She did help a lot with my son when I was too tired to function, much less care for a young child, and my husband had to work because of the bills. It's not been an easy few years, that's for sure. Edit, yikes, I did not expect this to blow up. I will clarify a few things that people have asked. The first is that, as far as we know, my mom does not have any sort of cognitive decline like dementia. My brother did actually insist she see a doctor about a year ago and be given a memory and cognition test, and the doctor told my brother everything was fine. So, unless something major happened in the past few months, not out of the realm of possibility, although unlikely, this is just how she is. The second is that she has always hyper-focused on things about me that I found hurtful. I didn't get married young enough, I was too old when I had my son, I don't have enough children, I should have focused on my career instead of school, and so much more. I actually did go several months where I didn't talk to her in my 20s and only reached back out after my dad got sick, he has since passed. The last is that I have been seeing the comments about my husband and son, and I agree. They are two of the most wonderful people in the entire world. My husband has put his foot down that mom is not allowed back to the house until she has formally apologized to my son and myself, willingly becoming the bad guy. My son was pretty upset about her comment and says he doesn't remember her saying it before. He was more offended that she called me a boy than anything about my hair. I've heard him brag to his friends about how I can change my hair in 5 minutes and he thinks it's cool. That was one of the ways my husband and I tried to cushion my cancer to him. We had to tell him I was sick, but we tried to make it a little better with "Mom can change her hair anytime she wants to, now." We never let him know how bad it was or that there was any chance I might not survive. Thank you all so much for the support. I've been really beating myself up about this because it feels so silly. It's just dumb, really. I don't want my son to expose to mom's behavior, though, because while I don't deserve it, he definitely doesn't deserve it. Stories number 5. Aita for deciding to postpone the wedding over a comment my fiancé made about my scar. I, female, have a visible scar on the side of my neck. It's been there for over 6 years and no one has ever commented on it or made any negative remarks about it. However, my fiancé would make comments about my scar and make it seem as flirting, like for instance complaining he has kissed every part of my body, except my neck because of the scar, and how the scar looked like a kid messed up such a great art, referring to my look, etc. I told him I didn't appreciate it even if he was using the scar to be flirty with me, but he insisted he loves me anyway. Our wedding is approaching and I've been busy with the wedding planning, and days ago, my fiancé and I and in-laws were talking about the wedding and was talking about how we're going to finally be married. He laughed and said, "I'm marrying you minus the scar." I was stunned when he said that, especially in front of his family. I was too upset. I got up and walked out of the room. We had a big fight and he kept saying I was being a drama queen and that he said nothing wrong. He doubled down when I said I'd consider postponing the wedding because of his comment, and he called me crazy. His mom said that I'm obviously traumatized by my scar to let it ruin my marriage with her son and suggested therapy. She told me that the scar was the issue, not her son who loves as I am and chose me to be his wife. I really feel horrible right now. I don't know if I said the right thing about postponing the wedding and whether I'm overreacting in this situation. My girlfriends have previously said that my fiancé shouldn't even be bringing up the scar like that. Stories number 6. I 25F overheard my 26M fiancé's friends talking about how he's settling for me. So I 25F have had a crush on my fiancé ever since we were 6. I would ask him out through friends ever so often until I turned 15. Everyone around us, including him, knew that I had a huge crush on him, and the fact that he never really said no, he would always either respond with she has a crush on me, him never giving a clear answer, just fueled my delusions. It wasn't his fault, I was just being crazy. I never really got much attention from guys except a few, whereas he got tons and tons of attention from girls. Until the time I turned 23 and he turned 24, I hadn't had any boyfriend, whereas he had been in around 13 relationships, some might have been more serious than the others. But yes, so 2 years back we met again in a different city where we were both working, and we started hanging out together as he didn't really know anyone in that city. One thing led to another and we started dating. Over time we got quite serious. Then just a week back he proposed and I said yes. Yesterday while at our engagement party I was in the washroom. From where I could hear the conversation outside in the parking area because of a window present in the washroom, I overheard a few of his friends discussing how my fiancé is just settling for me as I would worship him and do whatever he would ask of me. Now this has me rethinking our entire relationship, as I have always internally felt as if he wasn't really in the relationship as much as I was, cause of little things like he wouldn't hold my hand on the sidewalk, or he would just respond to my "I love you" with "thank you." Even the proposal, I had told him that I wanted to get married by 26. I wonder whether he actually wanted to marry me, or was it just me pressuring him. He is a conventionally attractive guy, whereas I am slightly below average and I don't even have the personality to make up for it. I really love him, but I don't think he loves me the same. Ever since yesterday everything has been numb. I have no idea what to think or even do. I don't know what to do. Overall comments feel, people tell her to reconsider. Update 1. Okay, so firstly I'd like to thank you all for your advice. So the day after posting this I met up with my fiancé. On meeting him I told him how I have been feeling and did not mention the fact that I overheard his friends. On hearing that, he became emotional and admitted to not being attracted to me physically but liking me as a person. It honestly did hurt, as in my head I was expecting him to say something along the lines of him loving me no matter what others thought. He still wants to marry me and I still love him. He has promised to try harder and be more present in the relationship. He really has been trying these past few days. He texts me every single day and also reciprocates my "I love yous." Also, I told my mother and grandmother about everything that has been happening, to which their response was more on the lines of I should be grateful that someone like him is going for someone like me, and once we get married he will change over time. Now this has put me in a tougher position, but honestly speaking I think I will just go ahead with the wedding, as the other option is arranged marriage, which I am not really keen on. And he has really started putting in effort. I do believe that he will actually fall for me gradually. Overall comments feel, people face palm. New, update 2. I have attached my earlier posts above. Hello. So, a lot has happened since my last update. I've been in two minds ever since that day. After posting the update and receiving a flood of negative responses, I had a moment of realization that I had been avoiding. So, I decided to have another conversation with him, one final talk where I laid everything bare. I told him exactly how I felt and I admitted the truth I had known deep down but had been too afraid to voice. He didn't really love me. He neither confirmed nor denied, just stayed silent. After that, I ended it. I called off the engagement and handed the ring back to him. He didn't fight me on it, didn't argue, and didn't try to change my mind. He just sat there, silent, only said, "Okay." That was it. No grand declarations, no desperate attempts to stop me. Just okay. And that, more than anything, solidified my decision. If he had truly loved me, wouldn't he have said something? Wouldn't he have at least tried? But 2 days after that conversation, he showed up at my place and started begging me to take him back. He began showing up at my place every other day with flowers and started sending over gifts. It's been 2 weeks of this now, and I don't know what to make of it. I wish I could say I was immune to it, that I was standing strong, but the truth is I still love him. And seeing him actually trying, something I had wanted for so long, has me melting. I haven't yet taken him back, but I am very close to doing so. The other day he even showed up at my parents' place asking them to convince me. They already were not in favor of my decision to break off the engagement. Him trying just fueled them even more. There's constant pressure of taking him back through them. They see my decision to leave him as something illogical. I honestly don't know what to believe. I am just scared that once I take him back he'll go back to his old ways. Plus my mother has joined some matrimonial WhatsApp groups and keeps sending me pictures of guys urging me to go meet up with them. I think she just wants me married off to whom doesn't matter. And as I am an only child, both of them don't have anyone else to focus on. I do not know what to do anymore, not that I was ever clear in the first place. There's just constant pressure through my parents and relatives to get married, and it has really started to affect me. Comments. Commenter 1, don't go back. Finally, first story I have read on Reddit where someone took self-respect more importantly. Don't reverse it, please. It's not like he started finding you attractive in 2 days, bro, come on. Don't take him back. Commenter 2, girl, you did good. And the reality is that once you take him back, he's gonna go back to his old ways sooner or later. He is just in the immediate shock of the breakup and nothing more. Once it passes, he is going to feel relieved. Believe me, if you take him back, his old doubts are going to creep up and you'll spend the rest of your life trying to convince him that you're good enough for him. You'll spend the rest of your life doubting yourself and your worth. He is going to erode your confidence, self-esteem away. Stay strong and let this pass. Give it time. Stand your ground. Commenter 3. Kudos to you for having self-respect and making a decision to end what you thought was settling for. 2. On the other hand, I wonder why he settled for you if he had so much female attention. Maybe he sees something in you that he hasn't found anywhere else. 3. Physical attraction is necessary, but at the same time slightly overrated. The shine of a beautiful girl or a handsome man wears off quickly when you get down to the business of living your daily lives together, raising kids, supporting families, etc. Suggest talking to him to figure out why he wants you. You're not bound by anything and you've already broken the engagement. It costs you nothing to figure out whether it's worth salvaging. Good luck. Stories number 7. Aita for asking my 36M partner not to have 19F friends. My partner and I have been together for almost 8 years. We have children together, live together, and have an almost 14-year-old daughter from a previous relationship, which makes this whole thing weirder since she's so close in age to his new friends. Recently he changed careers and decided to go back to college, which was my recommendation in the first place. I love this for him and support him fully. However, long story short, I caught him hanging out with a woman at the college and took her out for her birthday dinner and paid $78 for it. He didn't tell me about this. I found out by his story not lining up and asking more questions than looking into it. We worked through it and he apologized. He said he feels like the dad on campus and felt like it was a nice gesture to pay for her. I think not. He also told me he couldn't remember her name. Fast forward to 2 months later and I catch him talking to a 19-year-old girl from the program. He mentioned something about a pretty blonde that plays Minecraft that we should invite to our realm. I asked what her name was and he said he didn't know, so I asked my friend who is also in the class and he told me her name. That's when I discovered my partner has her on FB. When I asked him how he has her on FB yet doesn't know her name, it seems like he's avoiding telling me. I asked to see if they talked and he deleted the conversation, so I never got to see what was said. She is now dating a 20-year-old from the program, so now they all hang out as friends, even after school. He thinks it's okay because she's got a partner now. Last, there was a bunch of photos uploaded from the program on the school's social media and I saw my partner with a bunch of people, so I asked them who they are to match a face to the names and stories he tells me. And he told me it's none of my business. This triggered a severe panic attack. He eventually told me who everyone was after I explained I just like to be in the know so that I don't find things out unexpectedly like I did in the past and feel hurt. He said he hangs out with a few of the girls and of course I looked them up and they are all 19. I also found out that he follows them on social media. I can't just tell him not to talk to people in the program because I don't agree with that, however I do want full transparency and boundaries because I'm not cool with him hanging out after school or talking online social media to 19-year-old women. It doesn't sit right with me. For context, I am not a jealous person, I do not go through his phone, I do not have his password. But those 2 incidents with him hiding stuff has made me insecure and suspicious and I've asked him to help me gain it back by being trustworthy, but it will take time. Stories number 8. Aita for ruining my own gender reveal party. I'm pregnant with a baby boy due in November. My fiancé and I didn't care much about the sex of our child, so we didn't make too much noise about it once we found out. The only people we'd informed were our parents, their partners and our siblings. Prior to this, my father's girlfriend of 3 years had been asking me about my plans for a gender reveal party. I've always been clear about not wanting one. When I announced my son's gender to them, she expressed disappointment that I hadn't changed my mind about a party. I don't like gender reveals. Never have, never will. I prefer baby showers, which I think feel more about the actual child. I never tried to hide that opinion either. Days later, my father's girlfriend invited me over for tea at their apartment. My dad was out of town. When I got there, about a dozen people popped out of hiding to surprise me. There were pink and blue decorations everywhere, which made what was going on pretty clear. As I stood there in shock, my father's girlfriend excitedly told me they were throwing me a surprise gender reveal party. Since I'd already told her, she had taken it upon herself to order a cake with colorful frosting, decorate the apartment and invite a bunch of people over. The guests included her mother, whom I don't get along with, some of her friends, my MIL, not my mom, and 4 of my friends. As I later found out, my MIL and friends had been told I'd changed my mind about gender reveals. I had not. Still in the doorway, I looked over at everyone and said, "It's a boy. You guys can go home now." I left without looking back. Hours later, my father called me furious that I'd ruined the party. He said his girlfriend had put a lot of effort, money and love into planning it, and I should have shown respect and gratitude for it. Apparently, she hadn't stopped crying since I left. It's been almost a week, and they're both still upset. Even after I explained I never wanted that party in the first place, they're insisting I could have sucked it up for an hour, or at least cut the cake. Aita, relevant comment. Commenter 1, NTA. This smacks of her trying to prove that she cares about you more than your mom, especially seeing as how either your mom wasn't invited or she turned down the invitation to respect your wishes. She doesn't seem to get that the way to prove she cares about you at all is to actually listen to what you want and don't want. Reply, I asked my mom, she confirmed she wasn't invited. According to my father's girlfriend, she didn't have her number. That's probably true, but I have no idea how she could have gotten my MILs. Commenter 2, NTA. Dad's GF sounds like someone who enjoys bulldozing boundaries. Wait until she expects to be in the delivery room with you. Reply, our hospital will only allow me and my fiancé in. Thankfully, no one has asked us to be there anyway. Commenter 3, NTA. This was all about her, not you. She knew you don't like gender reveal parties and she insisted on throwing you one anyways. She also lied to your friends and MIL. Maybe she didn't invite your own mom because your mom would have known better. Reply, had my mom been invited, not only would she have known better, but she also would have told me about the party in advance. Commenter 4, there was cake. You could have deliberately misunderstood and said, thank you for the baby shower for my baby boy, and then stayed for cake. Then you could have also, in between bites of cake, acted all confused to the guests and said, I'm so glad she respected my wishes on not having a gender reveal party and threw me a shower like I preferred, and then went and got another slice of cake. SMH, missed opportunity to have your cake and eat it too. Reply, wouldn't have worked. The moment they all yelled, surprise, she said it was a gender reveal. The decorations also made it obvious. My fiancé did get me cake after all this, so I didn't really miss out on that. Commenter 5, and they lied to your family friends saying you changed your mind. That reeks of psycho and a permanent boundary crosser to me. Point out that lying about you is unacceptable and either he changes his attitude or you'll have to go LC until he breaks up with Miss Psychopath. Reply, honestly, the fact that she brought my friends and family into this is what angers me the most. Commenter 5, weird that they wouldn't invite him. It's his kid too, and his family was there. Reply, when she invited me over for tea, she added that my fiancé could come along if he wanted. I didn't bring him with me because he'd scheduled a class at the gym, and we thought it was just tea at the time. I do think it's weird that she didn't make more of a fuss about it. Update, thank you for all your replies. Especially those who called me the AH for having a gender reveal. I'm assuming you didn't read my post, but you still cracked me up. All jokes aside, I've been expected to be a pushover for most of my life, older daughter of divorced parents, so it was good to know I was right to stand my ground on this issue. After reading your comments, I've concluded that the only thing I did wrong was leaving without talking to my friends and MIL. They were lied to and put in an awkward position after I left. I did talk to them the next day and apologized, but I wish I'd told them what was going on. A few days ago, my fiancé and I invited my father and his girlfriend over. I told them I was extremely upset with them both, but I wanted to sort this out peacefully. We still ended up fighting. My father agreed with some points I made, but kept insisting that I was ungrateful and owed his girlfriend an apology. She was quiet at first, but started crying about 20 minutes into the fight. My father's girlfriend said she threw the party because she cared about me, and that she'd want one if she was pregnant. She started talking about all the gender reveal videos she'd watched on TikTok, and how happy the parents look in them. She told me she genuinely thought I'd love it, and couldn't understand why I'd been so rude to her. To my surprise, my fiancé was the first to snap at that, he's usually the calm one. He told her to stop calling it my party, since she clearly threw it for herself. I had expressed countless times that I didn't want a gender reveal, and I was well within my rights to leave when she tried to ambush me with one. The fight didn't go on for much longer after that. Near its end, my father asked me why I hadn't at least played along for a while. I told him I went there expecting to spend an hour with someone I've been meaning to get to know better, not to spend my entire afternoon entertaining a dozen people, more than half of whom I either didn't know or didn't like, who got together to talk about my child's privates. I didn't mean to upset anyone, but I had to get out. My father didn't argue with that. There were two main pieces of advice from your comments that I decided to follow. The first was to tell my father's girlfriend she needed to apologize to my friends and MIL for lying to them. She agreed, and they later confirmed she did. Secondly, neither of them will be allowed to meet my son at the hospital when he's born. My father had been looking forward to this, so it wasn't an easy decision, but I made it clear it was final. My father called me the next day to apologize for everything, and I forgave him. I don't expect an apology from his girlfriend, but I'm done feeding that fire. My life is stressful enough as it is. My son will be here in November. He already has a name, and we've just started working on his nursery. I truly can't wait to meet him. Also sorry for including "for" twice in my first post's title. More relevant comments. Commenter 1, for the sake of your mental health, do not tell anyone the names you have chosen. Reply, oh, we're not saying anything until birth. The only people who know besides us are my best friend, who will be my son's godmother, and her husband. Commenter 2, I had a small gender reveal party, before it was this huge thing. We all had a good laugh at the name and everyone agreed it was a biological sex reveal, and the kid may grow up to be a different gender. Honestly, I just wanted the fun of smashing a piñata, then knowing which name we'd get to go with. We had names picked out for future kids way before I got pregnant. Reply, that's actually the reason why my fiancé and I chose to find out the sex. We picked out baby names years ago, and we got sick of calling our baby thingy. Commenter 3, rule number 1 for pregnant people is not to surprise them. I've never heard of a surprise gender reveal before or someone else throwing it other than the couple. There were some surprise showers though. Those were not usually appreciated either. It just goes to show how much she cares about you and your son's health over giving you this party. Side note, November is the perfect time to have a baby. The weather isn't too bad for the early appointments, depending on where you live. I'm in the Northeast US, but it's also a good excuse to stay home during the early bonding months. And you're not too pregnant during the hot summer months, which I think is the most important. You're probably in a completely different area of the globe. I hope you all have a surprise-free rest of your pregnancy and birth. Reply, yeah, I wouldn't appreciate a surprise shower right now, either. I usually have nothing against surprises, but indulging in them while pregnant feels like a nightmare. I live in the southern hemisphere, so my baby will be here right before summer. But I'm used to the warm weather, and at least I won't be pregnant anymore when it gets really hot. Commenter 4, I agree with you there. Being cringe is not the issue. Liking cringy stuff is great, we all do, but setting fire to your house over your kid's assigned sex is not. Reply, that's certainly one of my issues with gender reveals. Final update. Hey everyone. It's been a while. Hope it's okay for me to update here. I remember promising myself I'd make a final post as soon as the dust had settled, and I'm pretty sure the time has come. First of all, I'm a mom. My son was born in November, and he turned 3 months old a little over a week ago. He's beautiful and perfect and I still can't believe he's here. Secondly, I have some updates on my father and his girlfriend. Most importantly, they broke up last month. Turns out they were cheating on each other. I don't know much about this that isn't gossip I can't confirm, but I did have some minor problems with her after my last post. About a week after the conversation I mentioned in my previous update, she became fixated on trying to find out my son's name. According to her, there was a personalized gift she wanted to get me that would need it. She spent 3 weeks asking around about it before giving up. I didn't invite my father's girlfriend to my baby shower. Almost definitely a dick move, but I didn't want her there. She was still on her name crusade at the time, and it was becoming exhausting to deal with. My mother was the one who threw it, so it didn't make sense for her to be there anyway. My fiancé and I had dinner with her and my father instead, which did end up being nice. She gave us diapers instead of the personalized gift, and it was quite honestly the best thing she could have gotten me. Nothing happened when I went into labor, at least not on that end. I introduced my son to my father through video chat. He kept his part of the deal and didn't visit us, but I later found out his girlfriend did try to convince him to. They came over to meet the baby a bit over a week later. Her mother was visiting them at the time, and I allowed her to join us despite the fact I never got along with her. Awful decision. She complained the whole visit. Also, according to her, I had it easy because of my C-section, so she felt the need to tell me her whole birth story. Joke's on her, my kid can kill Macbeth. All jokes aside, my father was particularly upset about this. He told me he had a huge argument with his girlfriend afterwards because her mother ruined his first time meeting his first grandchild. The holidays went fine. The breakup happened early in January. Again, I don't know much about it. A few days after I found out, my father's ex-girlfriend texted me. She apologized for whatever stress she had put me through during my pregnancy. We wished each other well. I'm sure both she and my father will start dating their affair partners now. If I learned anything these last few months, it's that my family is a fucking mess. Moving forward, I'll do my best to protect my child from this. I still have over a year until my wedding, so we'll enjoy our time away from the spotlight while it lasts. This will be my last post, thanks everyone. Even more relevant comments. Commenter 1, my family is a fucking mess, most relatable thing I've ever read on Reddit. Anyway, congrats on your baby op. Also, hope the wedding goes well, with no drama. Reply, to be fair, it's mostly my father. It's not even the first time one of his relationships ends like this, lol. Commenter 2, jokes on her, my kid can kill Macbeth, is the single greatest C-section line comeback I've ever heard. Reply, I was so weirded out that conversation happened in the first place. Literally no one else had anything to say about the fact I had a C-section. Stories number 9. My 33M wife 30F is upset about the fact that I picked her and our daughter over my mother in a medical emergency. I think she's being ridiculous, but she's acting like I betrayed her help. My brother-in-law directed me here since y'all give advice, apparently appreciate y'all in advance. My wife and I have had the hypothetical who would you pick conversations in all 3 of her pregnancies, but I never thought it'd be a real-life choice until 2 days ago when my wife went into labor with our daughter and my mother fainted and hit her head badly at my sister's house. We were already on our way to the hospital after dropping off our boys at my mother-in-law's house when my sister called and told me that my mother fainted, and it was bad. I then told my sister that my wife was in labor. My wife has asked me why I was suddenly shaken, but I brushed it off, not wanting to stress her. Luckily, all went well with her labor and our daughter was born healthy. Once everyone was settled, I told my wife what had happened and that mom was relatively okay. Turns out the blood made it look worse than it was, and I told her that I was going to visit her and bring her back food. When I came back, my wife asked about my mother, and I updated her, and then she said that I really did pick her. I told that of course I did. My mother had my sister and brother, and besides that, she needed me, and I wasn't missing the birth of our daughter. Apparently, that was the wrong thing to say since she looked at me weird and asked what our daughter had to do with it, and I got confused but told her that I wasn't missing our daughter's first breaths or her being born, just like I didn't miss those things with our 2 boys. Then she got this sad look on her face and said that I didn't really pick her then, I picked our daughter, and she came with proxy. I told her that it's not the case, I picked both of them, especially since we wouldn't have any of our kids without her, but she's been sad, crying often and looks at me like I betrayed her. I get that her body is going through some massive changes I wouldn't even begin to understand, but she was never this emotional or sensitive after our boys' births. Is it hormones? Is it because it's a girl and our last? Is it because she's a girl and she feels that I'll care for our daughter more than her? I'm honestly lost. Help, please. Stories number 10. Aita for just refusing to cook for my wife at this point. I am 39 and male. My wife, Jennifer, is 37. We have been married for 8 years, and we have 2 children. I work full-time, and Jennifer is a som. She's a wonderful mother to our children, but one thing that she does not like to do is cook. This works out just fine for me, as I generally get off work by 4:30, and I happen to be a phenomenal cook. My father was a chef, and I've been cooking since I was 10 years old. I also worked as a line cook for several years. Virtually everyone loves my cooking. When we have company, it gets rave reviews. Our children always ask for seconds. I put a lot into it, and I take pride in my cooking skills. The only person who doesn't like it is Jennifer. She complains endlessly. Too salty. Too much pepper. This is undercooked. She also backseat cooks a lot, where I'll be in the kitchen making something, and she won't shut up about what I should be doing differently. The worst part, though, is that she'll frequently insult my cooking and then go get garbage like a Hot Pocket or a frozen dinner from the freezer. Last Wednesday, I made Salisbury steaks with mushroom gravy, cream cheese, mashed potatoes, and roasted asparagus. When I put Jennifer's plate in front of her, she made a disgusted face. She poked at her Salisbury steak for a few seconds and took the tiniest bite imaginable. She then made an exaggerated retching sound, dramatically threw her fork on the plate, and went to heat up a microwave burrito. I just snapped. I didn't say anything at the time because our children were there, but I was completely done. The next day, I made teriyaki bowls with broccoli. Jennifer sat at the table waiting for hers, and I informed her that I was done cooking for her. When she asked why, I told her it's a waste of food, and that she should just go have a hot pocket. Jennifer is furious that I won't cook for her, and she says that instead of giving up, I should try a bit harder. I think she should just subsist on whatever microwavable slop she likes and stop complaining. Did I escalate too much here? Edit, thank you for the comments. Unfortunately, people are sending me harassment through private messages, and many of these people come from the same community that has cross-posted this multiple times. I'm going to abandon this Reddit account, although in the unlikely scenario that I post an update, I may use it again. I'm just exhausted from reading comments about how I'm supposedly a terrible father for not making the right food for my children and how my wife must be right about my cooking. I am no longer reading responses and DMs. Update, Aita for just refusing to cook for my wife at this point. About a month ago, I posted here about something that happened over dinner one night. My wife, Jennifer, literally retched at my cooking, despite taking the tiniest bite imaginable. After that, I refused to cook for her, which made her very angry. It was this bizarre disconnect between her thinking my food was trash not fit for a compost bin, but her demanding that I continue making it for her anyway. I was hesitant to update because for some reason beyond my understanding, I received about a dozen hate-filled direct messages after my last post. They were all being sent from users of a parody community of this. I have no idea what I did to make so many people upset, but a lot of people have asked me for an update, so I figured I'd give one. Anyway, the last month has been really eye-opening for me. I had long ago noticed that Jennifer was highly critical of my cooking, but over this time, I've come to realize that she's really critical of just about everything that I do. For example, 2 weeks ago, I was walking outside with her. I'm pigeon-toed, and have been since I was a baby, although it's a lot better now. Jennifer asked why I was walking with my toes slightly pointed in, and when I explained to her that I'm pigeon-toed, she responded in an exasperated tone. Why don't you just try walking with your feet straight? Yes, thank you. My literal bone issue was just magically cured by your advice. I never realized that the problem to something I have suffered from for nearly 40 years was staring me right in the face. At least now if I know I ever get cancer, I can just get rid of it by deciding not to have cancer. You see, I never really noticed how critical she is towards me on virtually everything I do. She's just more forward about my cooking. For example, when she walks into my home office, she always scrunches up her face in this really displeased way. I don't think she likes the interior, which I designed, because she wants nothing but white and gray in every room in the house. Whenever I try to do the laundry, she'll hear me open the washing machine door and beeline over to backseat me through the whole process. This is coming from a woman who once ruined a $1,500 suit of mine because she thought bleach would be the perfect stain remover. By the way, when I was explaining an issue I had with my colleague to her, she took my colleague's side despite her being objectively in the wrong from an industry standpoint. My wife was adamant though. I must have been the one to screw things up. I'm honestly just exhausted. The criticism of my cooking was the worst, yes, but it really just overshadowed everything else she always found fault with me on. I tried to have a conversation with her, and naturally she denied doing anything of the sort, denied ever being rude to me, and even denied retching at my food. She actually tried to gaslight me here. She kept asking me questions like, when did I do that? Tell me the date. Then she called me a hypocrite for being critical of her, hijacked the conversation, and eventually stonewalled me. I've come to realize that I don't really like my wife anymore. She's just such a negative person. It makes me sad, but in the next few days, I'm going to ask her for a divorce. She's not going to like it, but I've come to realize that when she walks into a room I'm in, I get anxious about what she's going to say to me. Thank you for all your comments. I also apologize if this was long-winded. My marriage is falling apart and I'm not in the best headspace right now. Edit, thanks for all the advice. I'm getting hate messages from that community again, and I really don't need this as I have to deal with child custody, divorce, assets, and telling my children that mommy and daddy are going to be separating. It's a really stressful time, and they're mocking me in DMs. I'm going to stop checking my inbox on this account, so I won't be reading any more of your comments. Thank you so much for all the support. Stories number 11. I got called into HR for inappropriate dancing at the company holiday party. Still annoyed. Every year, my company hosts a big, formal holiday party with a best-dressed competition. This year, I decided to go for it. I've been sewing my own clothing for a few years now, and occasionally do costumes for drag and burlesque shows. In working on the costumes, I've learned a lot of couture techniques in gown making, lots of feathers and beads and sparkle in both communities. But I haven't had the chance to make myself something wearable using anything I'd learned. The holiday party felt like the right time to make myself something beautiful and show it off. I ended up making a floor-length, red satin gown with a big bow in the back, matching opera gloves, and a sparkly white faux fur stole. It was significantly less glittery than initially planned, but once the base came together, I decided I liked the look of the satin undisturbed and left it alone. The dress was a big hit. It was glamorous, I felt beautiful in it, and people were shocked that I had made it myself. I won Best Dressed Overall. Every time someone won, they got to go out onto the dance floor and do a little fashion walk, spin around, answer a couple questions, then go and sit down. When it was my turn to walk, I did a few things I've seen at burlesque shows, drag shows, and probably a few old Hollywood movies. I did the slow side step with wavy arms. I shrugged off the stole to better show off the bow and looked down over my shoulder. I think I did a 3-step turn at some point. Nothing racy or inappropriate, and less than a minute long. Anyway, someone reported it to HR. I got called in a few days after the party and told that my dancing had made people. I asked if there were multiple reports, they said there was only one, uncomfortable. They gave me the "work parties are still work" speech and let me go. They didn't even really give me a chance to say anything. I'm so frustrated. The dress was work party appropriate, my walk was work party appropriate, and no one has said a single negative thing to my face. I'm still proud of myself and the dress, but it feels like majorly misplaced effort. What a cruddy way to start the break and end the work year. Edit, oh wow, I did not expect the response this has gotten. I think I was still annoyed because I hadn't really gotten to talk to anyone about it yet. Thank you for letting me vent, and sharing your perspectives, HR stories, and humor. I feel a lot lighter just reading through the comments. I just want to clarify 2 things, since I think my mention of burlesque has, rightfully, made it sound like I brought my inner Jessica Rabbit to a stuffy work function. First, is that the moves I added to my walk are not specific to burlesque, and can be found in virtually all forms of dance. I only mentioned burlesque and drag because that's where I learned about them. I am not a dancer and never have been, and their functions on a stage. The sideways walk is used a lot in burlesque and drag because it's a really, really good way to show an audience your outfit without just doing a regular catwalk around the stage. Moving sideways keeps your torso, so the front of the outfit, facing the audience, and arms up out on the hips keeps the outfit in full view. There are variations of this scene in things like musicals, ballroom dance, when couples are entering the floor, and the wavy arms are, I think, inspired by ballet. Depending on how you move, it can be really graceful, very sexy, or kind of camp, like purse first. I was trying to be graceful, show off the dress, and make the glitter on the stole sparkle a little, hence the arm waving. Second, almost everyone who walks each year does their best impression, or a really campy imitation, of a fashion model's catwalk. Some people really swing their hips, and most people stop at the end of the runway, and do the model, hip-hop and over-the-shoulder look into the camera. Last year, the guy who won Best Dressed showed up in a gold sequin suit and did a genuine ballroom, Paris is Burning ballroom, not waltz ballroom, catwalk that would have been very scandalous if a woman had done it. There's also time for actual dancing towards the end of the night, and there are definitely people every year who get a little loose. I think somebody did get called in for drunk twerking last year, but she was kind of a mess that whole month, so it might have been something else. I do understand that maybe my attempt at being graceful may have come off sexier than intended. I was banking on the fact that the moves are not burlesque or drag specific, the gown itself is not form-fitting, it's a full skirt, and felt that others swaying their hips down the runway was less work-appropriate than ballerina arms. Maybe I was wrong, maybe I was right, the comment seems split, but I'll come up with something else if I get to walk again next year. Thanks again for the laughs and support. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. They had a best dressed competition at a work party. Reply. It's one of a couple excuses to hand out gift cards and vouchers, which in turn encourage people to show up and stay longer. They have a few different categories, most festive, ugliest sweater, company colors, and some years people really have fun with it. Commenter 2. Someone was jealous and rained on the parade. That's so lame. Your dress sounds amazing and I'd probably be bitter AF if I were in your position. Everyone is an adult and a couple shoulders, suggestive or not shouldn't be called out. I'm sorry. Reply. I wish it was something less childish, but I think you're probably right. I don't know everyone in the company, but I can't think of any of my coworkers being offended, and I wasn't the only woman in a sleeveless dress with a shawl. If all the shoulders that night were reported, then I feel bad for HR. Update. In December, I posted here about being called into HR for inappropriate dancing. TLDR, my company hosts a holiday party every year with a best dressed competition where winners get to do a catwalk to show off their outfits. I made my own dress, won best dressed overall, did a side step with wavy arms and a 3-point turn, and someone reported me to HR. I wasn't going to post any updates because the outcome was pretty bland. But hopping on yesterday, I was shocked to see how much more activity the post got after I initially logged out, and thought that maybe someone would like to read about what happened. Long story short, someone in HR did not do their due diligence and I was called in by mistake. This only came to light after a New Year's Eve party, not work-related, where the same person complained about my inappropriate dancing. I was out of town on New Year's. Long story long, the guy who made the report initially went to HR to complain about a woman in a red dress from my department trying to dance with him at the holiday party. Apparently, he didn't know her name, and the person he talked to did not ask for more identifying information. This person decided that I must be the woman in the red dress, despite the fact that there were multiple women in red dresses at the holiday party, and arranged for the initial meeting. Once we came back to the office after the holiday break, I was once again called into HR. They told me that they normally didn't talk to employees about personal conflicts, but since I had repeated a behavior that they had already warned me about, they felt it necessary to meet with me again. This prompted a back and forth. I apologized for my walk at the holiday party and said I understood that some people might have found it to be too risque. But that I hadn't done it again and did not intend to. They said that this was about the dancing. I told them the only dancing I had done at the party was the walk. They said the walk was fine. This was about the dancing. At some point, one of the HR reps outlined the initial complaint to me, dancing with a coworker. I told them I had not danced with any coworkers that night, nor had I even been on the dance floor. Then they asked if I had been to any New Year's Eve parties and I told them I had been out of town. This essentially ended the meeting. I assumed they realized they were talking to the wrong person and the issue of privacy kicked in. I was given an apology by the head of HR a few days later and told that the situation was being dealt with. One person doesn't work here anymore, but I don't know if that was the HR rep and whether that person was fired. I think I know who the real woman in red was, unless she was in burgundy, then it's a toss-up, but I have no idea whether or not she's been spoken to. I don't know the guy she was trying to dance with. I still feel weird about everything when I think about it, but I think that's because I don't know what went on with the two people actually involved. But I don't think about it very often, which is good. Thanks again for all your HR stories, thoughts, and humor. I didn't realize how frustrated I was about not being able to talk to anyone about it. The comments really helped. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Conclusion: do not attend any more works events except for training. Reply: I'll still go when I can. I like the opportunity to chat with people in a more casual setting. Most of my office friendships have started at those events. OOP clarifying to a downvoted commenter she wasn't let go. I meant they let me leave the HR office, not that I was fired. I think a few people commented on this, but I didn't think it was necessary to correct anyone since enough people understood. Sorry for the poor choice of wording. I never lost my job. Stories number 12. Mother-in-law offered down payment and use of her credit to buy a home as wedding gift after 14 years, she is evicting me, California. After my husband and I announced our engagement in 2011, his mother offered to help us buy our first home. The agreement was that she would pay the down payment and get the home in her name as she had great credit, my husband and I would pay the mortgage and taxes, and when we were able to secure refinancing in our names, she would sign the house over to us. This was presented as a wedding gift. I spent several months working with a realtor and finally found a home that fit our budget and was in a town near to our jobs. We ended up signing a lease agreement because without it, we were unable to get utilities or insurance in our names. She has done little to no maintenance or repairs to this 100-year-old house, aside from helping us out once with a plumbing issue we couldn't afford at the time. I was responsible for anything that broke in the home, even appliances required to be provided such as stoves, refrigerators, heating systems, etc. Because she said we were only renters on paper. A few years back, I was able to secure financing and was ready to proceed with the transfer. I even offered to not only repay her for the down payment, but also give her a share of the equity, even though that was not part of the original agreement. The house was purchased for around $100,000 and was estimated to be worth around $600,000 at that time. She originally said she would sign over ownership as soon as I was able to obtain financing that would pay off the remaining mortgage, which she said was around $40,000. She kept changing her story, saying she already paid it off in full, then she said she didn't. Just kept giving me the runaround. I finally just stopped trying as it was infuriating and time-consuming, and I was dealing with my husband's mental health and addiction issues. So we come to today. I have been making good faith payments on a home I was told would be mine for almost 14 years. My husband and I are now getting divorced. She has filed eviction papers against me alleging non-payment of rent. I have proof that payments were made during the time she is claiming they weren't. My husband is now telling me that back when I tried to refinance, his mom put the house into a family trust with the stipulation that he would be allowed to live here as long as he lived. I have never seen this trust or truly know what it says. Do I have any case against her or my husband for the investment and maintenance I have put in or the equity that has accrued? We would have been able to purchase our own home within a few years of our marriage without any help from her, but based on her assurances, I have instead basically bought a house for her and she stands to profit around $500,000. At this point I believe she and my husband planned this from the beginning and he has admitted that to me. There is a lot more to this, but this post is already so long. I'm happy to answer questions or provide more info if needed. Stories number 13. I progress on dealing with severe acne. I am 20, I have always struggled with breakouts and hormonal acne since middle school. I was put on spironolactone the last 3-ish years and have been on birth control for 5. I got strep in November and developed a staph infection in December. I went to a dream on December 13th who cultured me and said it came back positive for staph. I then started Bactrim for 10 days, twice a day and a steroid cream up my nose for 7 days. It did not get better and they suggested I take the Bactrim for 30 days. I kept getting yeast infections from the antibiotics. I went and got a second opinion on December 26th. She told me it was just severe acne and that I would need Accutane and scheduled me for January 30th to start. She gave me a steroid shot that she said would work wonders. It in fact did not and got even worse. She also gave me a topical antibiotic to put on my face that did not help at all and resumed me on spironolactone until my next appointment to start Accutane, January 30th. It has gotten so bad over time that I went to my family doctor yesterday and they cultured 2 of the pus-filled pimples. The pus comes out green almost like snot and it comes on its own terms. Just pours out randomly without even touching it. They also scab over a bright yellow color. I won't get the results until 2 to 3 days minimum. I have had multiple people tell me it looks like acne, and others say that it doesn't at all. I have never had skin like this and it started so sudden. My face is so sore. I can't even open my mouth to eat, it hurts to talk. It is the worst pain. I am open to opinions. Please help. Comments. Commenter 1. I wish I had some words of wisdom but the pic of you crying broke my heart. I hope you find solutions. Just wanted to send you a virtual hug and let you know how tough you are. You got this, sis. Hopefully Ask Docs like the other commenter mentioned will help. Commenter 2. Okay, take a deep breath. It is bad right now, there is no skirting around that. Don't pick, let your skin do whatever it's doing. The Accutane is a slow start, and you'll notice more breakouts. Eventually they stop, and your skin will dry out. Also, don't forget this one, in the future, when going on antibiotics, you can always ask them to call in a diflucan as well as you struggle with yeast infections. That's all you have to say. Commenter 3. Why have I not thought to do this before? Weary face, I go through the same bullshit every time. Thank you, voice of reason. Commenter 4. I take probiotics with my antibiotics now after seeing a lady doctor. She taught me this. Edit for more info. I buy whatever highest amount I can afford at the time, 30 billion or whatever, take 1 pro a day with the antibiotic pill and take 1 every day for like 3 days after. It's worked for me ever since. No more yeast infections. Commenter 5. Infection, not acne, I think. Could be antibiotic-resistant staphylococcus or strep. I'd get a second opinion from maybe infectious diseases or another dermatologist. Commenter 6. I see right through your acne. You have true beauty. You're very pretty girl. Update. Hey everyone, I am just checking back in. The support and audience it has reached is truly remarkable. The advice that I have gotten, the sweet comments I have gotten, and the very realistic true comments I have gotten have all been read. I have read every single message even if I have not replied, and every single comment on the last post that is now locked. Your support is what is holding me together during this. I have a dermatologist appointment tomorrow at 9:45 and should be getting my culture back soon. We think it is a staph infection that never got treated properly since I first got it in early December. I will for sure keep you guys updated. Nothing goes unnoticed. Thank you all for your, mostly, sweet words and guidance during this difficult time. Holding each and every comment message close to my heart during this journey. The first picture was my skin in late October before the staph infection I got in December. The second picture is what it was last night. I was very upset and felt hopeless. The last 2 are from today. One with flash, one with sunlight. Comments. Commenter 1. I had a very similar breakout in like 7th grade which completely threw me for a loop. It was the start of an acne battle that got better with age, and by 22 to 23 I rarely ever had a pimple breakout. I'm hoping it clears up for you and that it also gets better with age. Reply. Thank you. This sounds weird but I am praying it simply is just acne with no infection so then I can get on Accutane and clear it. Huge update. Hey! If you're following, I have a huge update. I know some of you wanted me to do natural remedies, but my skin is far too worse for that now. My culture came back abnormal for a few things as pictured, but I got it explained to me that we have some of those naturally, but when I had strep, I would pick my face causing bacteria to get into the open sores and cause this massive outbreak. I am going on prednisone 10 milligrams, 2 times a day for 10 days, then 1 time a day for another 10 days and then 1 the last 10 days. I also got Keflex 500 milligrams 3 times a day for 10 days. Lastly, I am starting Accutane 10 milligrams a day twice a day for a couple months. Thank you all so much for the support. I know some of you might be against this treatment plan, but my mom as a nurse, my family doctor, my extended family who is also doctors and nurses, and my dermatologist say this is a safe plan for me and the best treatment plan for me. I will be posting weekly updates of my face so you guys can see the raw and uncensored side of acne infections and how I will overcome this. I am also going to take probiotics and eat tons of yogurt to reduce digestive issues from the antibiotics. Thank you all. Comments. Commenter 1. Glad to hear progress is being made. I hope things clear up for you ASAP. Commenter 2. No one other than you, your doctor, and your trusted family members, gets any say in your treatment plan, so don't let anyone here get on you about not going the natural route. You know what's natural. Dying from infection, getting scarred from infection, losing limbs from infection. Embrace the leaps forward that we have in skincare and overall health. I'm so glad you were able to get some answers. I didn't respond to your first post, but I've been thinking about it since I saw it. I had atrocious acne when I was a teenager, and I was one of the early users when Accutane was first made widely available. Now, no acne scars at all. Good luck. Reply, thank you so incredibly much. This actually means SM to me because I know I'm going to get angry people because of the treatment plan, but I trust my own family and doctor more than Reddit strangers. Thanks. Commenter 3. Girl, don't pay any attention to what people say. I'd be willing to bet that most of them have never dealt with something like this, or even severe acne. Well, from someone who did deal with severe acne her whole life, one of the worst mistakes I made was listening to people tell me what my skin needed. You're doing what is right for you, so that is never wrong. Good luck. Reply, oh my, thanks so much. This makes me feel better. Hearing people tell me that I'm not going to die from treatment plans and for not going all natural all diet route. That does work for some people but not me. Thanks so much GF. Update. Hi sweet people, unfortunately I don't have a huge update but it's been a couple days. Tomorrow will be a week since I have started antibiotics and steroids. It is slowly getting better day by day. I did have to cave and wear makeup, that's the only way I'll leave the house, because my uncle passed away. Since the medicine, there has been no new spots or burning anymore. I take Keflex in the morning, afternoon, and night time. I take the prednisone together in the morning. I completely cut out pop and candy, my addictions, and use CeraVe face wash and moisturizer along with Tower 28 spray. This is not the pace I wanted it to heal at, but thank God it is healing. I personally don't see improvements, but I'm very hard on myself, but my family and friends do. I will update in a couple days. Thanks for following. Also, if you have any advice to help it heal faster, please let me know, without food dieting, because I'm not doing that. With all love. First picture today, second picture 2 days ago, third picture 4 days ago. Comments. Commenter 1. I can see a huge difference already. It looks way less sore. Sending you good vibes. Reply, it definitely hurts way less, barely any pain now. Thanks so much. Commenter 2. I can definitely see the inflammation has gone down. Speaking from experience, it's such a relief when there isn't that pressure pain in your face when you try to move it. Reply, yes OMG. Now it's just dry, but I'd have that Andy over the other pain also. I got tested for STDs, yearly OBGYN appointment, and they were all negative for the people who said it was that. I also stopped picking. Commenter 3. Yeah, definitely not an STD, and I remember the last post, the one of you crying stuck with me, that I still think you are beautiful and hope you get better. Commenter 4. Me too. Don't be so hard on yourself. Not your fault. And also won't last forever. New updates. I don't even want to give an update because it is not positive at all right now, but you guys deserve one. I finished the Keflex, no changes at all to my face. It actually has gotten worse and spreading. The prednisone did help with redness and inflammation. The other boil popped on my forehead yesterday, green mucus like pus. The derm is now putting me back on Bactrim DS 2 times a day for 20 days, even though I took it for 7 days twice a day in December per my other derm. And it did nothing. This dermatologist is not the best, but I just don't know what else to do. I have done so much research. I think it looks like gram-negative folliculitis or PD or Pseudomonas aeruginosa. But I am a heavy researcher and worrier lol. I just don't know what to do at this point. Keflex didn't work, Bactrim didn't work and they want to put me back on Bactrim. I am thinking about going to a university derm or an infectious disease doctor but my derm won't refer me. I'll keep you guys updated. Comments. Commenter 1. My heart breaks for you. I have seen some amazing obscure diagnoses. Commenter 2. This. Posted outside of acne pages. If it's not exactly acne related and is a fungal infection or something, someone on a doctor sub might have an idea or advice. Commenter 3. OP my dad went through this. Forgive me I haven't read through all the replies, but the only thing that helped her was Dial antibacterial hand soap. I swear. Her ped suggested it and I thought she was nuts. Once it calmed down I bought Penoxyl and she's been clear ever since. Nothing the derms did helped. Over 2 years of it. This finally took care of it. And I know this is obvious. But never ever touch your face. Good luck honey, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Commenter 4. You definitely need another doctor. They should have sent a culture to test by now and identified what is eating your face as well as what antibiotics can kill it. Ask for them to do a swab culture of the pus and then see what grows and have them test to see what kills it. Reply, hi. I did do this. I got a culture done a couple weeks ago of the pus. The results are posted on my page. Commenter 5. Hi. I'm a dermatologist. I think you may have pyoderma facial, take a look at Google Images, it looks very similar. This is a severe type of rosacea. It can be confused with acne, but lacks typical whiteheads and blackheads, and has a propensity for the cheeks and chin. It is not an infection, cultures can come back with growth, but not necessarily represent infection. If you were in my clinic, I'd treat this with prednisone, higher doses than you've had, and doxycycline, an antibiotic, even though it's not an infection, confusing I know. And plan to start Accutane. I agree with others about a second opinion. Feel free to DM me. I'm sorry I'm new to posting, I tried posting on your other posts but I don't know if they were seen. Reply, I just recently heard of pyoderma facial. I do agree completely. There have been times where I thought I had rosacea but thought it was too bad to just be that. I plan to start Accutane soon but just want a proper diagnosis. No one seems to be able to give me one. Please message me. Commenter 6. I had this and it is exactly what it looked like. Treatment was prednisone and Accutane. Update. This is my new account since my last account got deleted somehow. I'm not sure if you guys will even see this or know that it's me but it is, my old account was the secret bedroom account. But I have an update. I have been on Accutane 20 mg a day, for a week now. My derm just prescribed me mupirocin cream yesterday and now my skin is so red, itches, burns. First pick is my skin yesterday morning before adding the ointment. Second pick is after the ointment was applied. And the third was it this morning. Could this be an allergic reaction or what? My mom said Accutane and mupirocin are very drying so that could be why it's so red and irritated and so tight. Comments. Commenter 1. Speaking from personal experience, for me, Accutane was a miracle drug for my cystic acne, but it is a process and I found my acne redness irritation got temporarily worse before it turned a corner and drastically improved. It cleared my skin beautifully and I've had no acne issues since. Don't give up, I just know your journey is going to have a great outcome. Commenter 2. Maybe it's just the light, but I feel your skin does look slightly better in the third pick. Like, yes, there is more underlying redness, but overall it doesn't look quite as bad. Maybe talk to your derm again and ask if you can apply something that is neutral and calming moisturizing. Otherwise this might be a stick it out and trust the process thing, but I am in no way an expert. Commenter 3. No, I think you're right. The underlying redness makes it hard to tell, but the lesions look like they are getting smaller. Reply, my family said this. It just is hard to see any progress personally, when it's so red and inflamed. Stories number 14. Aita for insulting my husband for what he said about our daughter's BF. My daughter, 17F, recently started dating this boy 17M. He is her first BF ever. One of my biggest concerns when my daughter started dating is her getting mistreated, an obvious concern. However, after meeting her BF at one of his baseball games, she met him trough one of her friends in baseball, I realized this was not something I had to be seriously concerned about. He is genuinely one of the sweetest people I have ever met. Every time I see him interact with the coaches, his teammates, his opponents, my daughter, etc. it is always positive. He is just generally a very soft-spoken and kind individual, always positive and happy. I also say this with no ill intent, but he is fairly short and somewhat tubby, which is relevant to my husband's opinion. I obviously do not care about this as he is a good person and quite clearly treats my daughter well. When my husband met him earlier however he did not seem as happy. Once he had left he told me that he don't think he was right for our daughter. He made comments about him not being man enough. I said that our daughter clearly loves him and he clearly loves our daughter, and that I'm happy she's with someone we know is going to treat her right. My husband said that he would rather her be with a real man, not some short little gay kid. I got a little mad at this and said what would you rather have him be then? Some big macho man that snaps at our daughter? He responded by saying that that would be better than some fat pansy. I told him he was just being an annoying dick to the kid for no reason other than he doesn't think he's man enough for some stupid arbitrary reason and that he should be supporting our daughter. He said if you're fine with our daughter dating a fucking pansy so be it I guess. He stormed off and I've been reflecting on it and think maybe what I said was uncalled for as he has his own perspective on these things as a dad, and I should not have started throwing around insults as that does nothing to fix this issue for our daughter and her BF. Stories number 15. Aita for telling my dad he chose between me and his fiancée when he prioritized her surgery over mine. I, 17F, have had a rocky relationship with my dad. My parents married after I was born, hoping to provide a stable family for me, but they divorced when I was 11 after my dad went to rehab, and things only worsened from there. During rehab, he met his current fiancée, and they later had a kid, 6F. Since then, my dad has been mostly absent from my life. Whenever I have important events, he either has an excuse or doesn't show. I'd estimate he's been present for less than half of my events since their divorce. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with scoliosis, and initially, surgery wasn't needed. However, my condition got worse, and I was finally scheduled for surgery on 11/20 of this year. I told my dad about it months ago, expressing how much I needed his support this time, and he promised he'd be there. But later, he texted to say he'd planned a vacation that would keep him away until mid-December, just as my recovery period would be ending. It broke my heart, but I accepted it. Then, 2 hurricanes hit his vacation spot, and he told me he'd make my surgery. I felt a glimmer of hope. But then, just a week before my surgery, he texted again saying his fiancée's lung cancer surgery had been scheduled for the same day, a few hours before mine, at a hospital 30 minutes away. He said he might not make it to my surgery, but with him, might not usually means won't. He added that this wasn't about who he loved more. That message shattered me. I realized that no matter how much I hoped, he might never give me the attention and support I needed. I broke down on my kitchen floor that day. After sitting with my feelings, I texted him to tell him how deeply his actions hurt me. I said it wasn't only about love but about showing care, and that he'd given me hope only to let me down again. I questioned if his fiancée's surgery had really been scheduled last minute, or if he had known earlier but hadn't told me. I asked him to show he was my dad through his actions, not just his words. He responded, insisting the surgery was only scheduled the day he'd told me. But because he's lied in the past to save face, I reached out to someone who might know the truth. I then sent a follow-up message, clarifying that my frustration wasn't with his fiancée, it was with his ongoing absence and lack of support. I said that even if his reasons were genuine, he could have at least shown some empathy. I told him I hoped he'd be a better father for my half-sister than he has been for me. In a final message, I made it clear that I was done putting in all the effort to maintain our relationship on my own. I told him that if he wanted to be my dad, I would gladly be his daughter, but if he chose not to, I would be fine with that too. He hasn't responded, and honestly, I prefer he sit with what I've said. For once, I hope he really thinks about his actions and the impact they've had on me. So, AIT. Sum of comments. Top comment, girl, your father hasn't shown up for you your entire life, what makes you think he is going to do it now, and furthermore, why do you allow him to have that power over you? He is not your father, he is the male who impregnated your mother. Stop elevating him to father status. This man is going to support the person who he is making his life with, not the child he walked away from years ago. He doesn't prioritize you, and he never will, no matter what words he uses or promises he makes. Good luck with your surgery and focus on your recovery. Reply, thank you I will. Relationship timeline, to a deleted comment. Dad met fiancé before leaving us. Had my sister in the oven before leaving us. She will be 7 the 24th of next month. It's possible. He cheated and it's not hard to deduce that. On OOP's pronouns changing from non-binary to she/her, based on OOP's previous post. I'm all over she. I tried to go by one gender for this instance. I've also been lazy and haven't changed my Reddit profile. Last time I was NB, realized I didn't mind he or she so I decided all of them. Smiley face. To a downvoted commenter basically saying she should suck it up, push off the surgery and that lung cancer is more serious. I understand the severity of lung cancer but I don't think you also understand the severity of scoliosis. My lung rib cage are twisted and I'm in pain every day. Pushing it, for a couple months. That's a terrible idea especially when my surgeon, who is the best one in the country for children's spine surgeries is retiring in December. He also recommended I do my surgery earlier but I told him I had commitments, including something of my dad's, and November would work. Thanks for your suggestion but that's not happening. Commenter, you are not the asshole here, you have a lifetime of being let down by him and you handled it very maturely. However, I can't in good conscience say he's an asshole in this particular instance. He was an asshole for forgetting and scheduling a vacation. But that situation resolved itself. Cancer can be incredibly time sensitive, and that they scheduled her for surgery within, if I'm reading this correctly, 2 weeks of deciding she needed it tells me it's urgent. It's also cancer, so it's life-threatening. Not that your surgery and support isn't important. But it's scoliosis, you're not dying, your dad's wife potentially is. Urgent surgeries do happen. It's very possible he is not lying to you about this one. Do you speak to his wife? Or your grandparents and uncles on his side? Have you spoken to them about this situation and have they been able to confirm or deny that it is a last-minute surgery? Reply, they have but some have started calling me an asshole for not believing him even though he lied to everyone before and they all know that. My mama is actually supportive of my frustrations but is trying to get me to see his side which I am. Cancer is super serious, my uncle on my mom's side died a couple weeks ago with lung cancer. It was heartbreaking so I know they need the surgery but it's about consistently not being here for me. He didn't even say he would visit later that day. Mini update in comments. Hello Redditors. Here is my update. First of all thank you for your support. All of your opinions mean the world to me and really opened my eyes to this. Here are some questions I was asked and here's what I can answer. His child is in school, he has to take care of her. No, not really, she is homeschooled and doesn't know how to spell but that his problem is for another day. His bio mom, my mama, can take her to and from the 2 hospitals, however I asked that she come the day after or the next. What stage is her cancer? More defined timeline, I don't remember ever being told what stage her cancer is. In October 2023 my dad told me she had a tumor in her lungs but didn't say the stage. I don't know how the law works with who gets a say for her surgery but the fiancé has a great relationship with her parents, ex-husband, adult daughter, and siblings. As far as I know, he doesn't tell me SHT, this was plain as of the day he texted me and they had the option to choose the day before but the doctor pushed them for my surgery day. You have your mother for decision making, I don't need my dad for those decisions. I need him at my surgery so I could have a cushion and reassurance he would be there for me. He could still very well make it, yes that is a chance. It's fine if he doesn't. When he gets called out for mistakes or yelled at, he shrivels and goes cold. He probs won't. I told his fiancé good luck and the person I talked to says he is saying the truth. I have nothing else for you, he hasn't responded yet. Update post. Hey guys, been a while. Thanks for your love, I've been dragging my feet on an update but here it is. Surgery recovery has been great, I've been in therapy since 12, so my therapist knows everything about my dad. Can I just say it's weird seeing my story posted on other apps with Subway Surfers and Woodwork. Love that people think my dad is a sperm donor and not a dad across all platforms. Senior night is on Valentine's Day which I've told him weeks in advance saying, games start at 7 usually but I would get at the school 30 minutes early since we will probably do it before the game. I texted his mom, Mama, to ask him if he was going and he texted her, oh I never got a date, she doesn't tell me anything, bullsh, t. I told her I'll go and see if he doesn't go and I will go I'll see if he does go. If he wants to know. He can fucking ask and write it in his calendar. I told my mom to stop staying neutral and tell me why he acts like this, the relationship is almost ruined so there is no point in her trying to save it. He likes to play victim, try to make it sound like my mom doesn't want him around, uses it as an excuse to make him look like a good guy. I've seen text messages when I was younger of my mom trying to get my dad to make an effort. I showed her the first post so I'll send her this one too. Hi mom, the Kindle had screenshots of some convos I saw them in August when I found it so I knew for a while. I see my mom in a new light now. She will be walking me down the aisle and my first dance, she sacrificed so much of herself for me. She is not only mom but my dad. For non-Americans, senior night usually involves seniors and chosen people to walk them across the floor. My dad walked me down for my fall senior night, but he will not be one of my people this Friday. I am desperate to keep contact with my sister, I know Mama will help me with that. I know that if fiancé and dad break up, he will do the same thing to my sister. Friday came and passed. My dad got PSSY when he realized I didn't want him to walk me across the gym floor. He along with Mama and my sister left during halftime. We did the walk before the varsity game and pep band can't leave the stands until third, same as marching band plus Mama has been to previous basketball games along with football games. I left Dad a long voicemail message Friday for leaving especially since my sister begged to see me and he refused her. I told Mama I was disappointed that she left when she knew what happens at games. Monday I finally sent him boundaries and blocked him. I know I'm going to cry later, this is going to be hard for me. Thanks for your support, it means a lot to me throughout this journey. Sum of comments. Clarification on senior night. Commenter. Senior night is where high school seniors get to walk across the gym with their chosen ones and someone on a mic talks about their future. Normally it's all winter sports, basketball, pep band, cheer, dance, correction there is one for fall too but this senior night was all winter sports. Why would they choose Valentine's Day? It was another senior's birthday too lol. We had people stop by who otherwise would have been in the student section but had a date that night. Editor's note, I teach voice lessons as a contract teacher in different schools and sometimes they're just weird about scheduling so that tracks lol. Valentine's Day just so happened to be on a Friday this year. Commenter, so what happened with the surgeries? It's not really an update to skip ahead multiple months and not touch on anything around the original posting. Did he make it to visit you? How's the lung cancer outlook? Reply, he won't tell me about her surgery. And he visited once for 30 minutes, I don't count it as a visit since he was either on his phone, handling my sister or avoiding eye contact. Plus I had to poop in order to get discharged so I was going up every 10 minutes needing to try. To another commenter, she survived. I would have heard from Mama if she didn't. I don't know. He doesn't tell me anything and I don't want to drag Mama into this because I have a sour attitude and don't want to give her any of it. Commenter, I commented on your OG post. Also had scoliosis. Also deadbeat dad. Also NC with said deadbeat dad. But more than anything, I feel connected to you via the intense frustration of having to poop before they let you leave the goddamned hospital. Hope you're feeling okay despite it all. It's a nasty surgery to go through. Is your fusion quite long? Reply, oh yes lol. They gave me stuff and I was crying from the pain and the doctor came in saying, oh you look rough you don't have to be discharged today, I said nah and locked in. It's T3 to L3 but the cut a little above and a little below. Respectfully it's easier to say neck to crack, lol. YOOP wrote about senior night. It's about my dad, talking about recent events. It's not even about my surgery. People don't understand that. It's about his active absence. Editor's note since it has come up, while OOP could be in a sport, she also could be in pep band. She talked about marching band in a comment I didn't include here since it wasn't super relevant, so probably that. She also could be a team manager. Stories number 16. Aita for admitting to my son that I love his mother more than him and telling him he's acting self-centered. My son moved out right after graduating college last year. Since then, he's been very preoccupied with his own life. My wife and I couldn't be prouder of him, but we do wish he made a little more effort to keep in touch, especially since he only lives 30 minutes away. Months would go by without hearing from him, and we were always the ones to reach out first. We never complained about it to him, until my wife's birthday. Her birthday was 2 days ago, and we didn't get a call or a surprise visit. She was a little upset but chose not to confront him. I decided to call him about it, not out of anger, just as a reminder. I said, hey buddy, you missed your mom's birthday. He immediately apologized and asked me to wish her a happy birthday on his behalf. I told him it would be nice if he could visit us soon because we miss him. Apparently, that set him off. He told me that he has his own life to live and that we have ours. I told him I understood, but we're still his parents and want to stay close. That's when he bluntly said he doesn't want a close relationship with us and that he's frustrated we won't leave him alone. I asked him why, and out of nowhere, he brought up something from when he was 10 years old. He said he overheard my wife and me saying that we love each other more than we love him. I was completely confused because I don't recall ever saying anything like that. When I asked for more context, he said we had been talking about our own parents' marriages, and at some point, I said something along the lines of, even though I love him a lot, I love his mother the most. My wife apparently agreed with me, and that conversation has tainted his view of our relationship ever since. I told him there was nothing wrong with what I said and that he was acting like a self-centered brat who thinks the world revolves around him. He told me to go to hell. When I told my wife about what happened, she said I was wrong for calling him that, even though I believe it was true. Stories number 17. Aita for being at breaking point with my husband's made-up language. My OH has always been a bit goofy, giving his own names to things and doing impressions. About 18 months ago this started to increase a lot. It's now a constant presence in our lives and I'm finding it difficult to live with. Examples: he has his own name for most retail outlets, professionals, organizations. Edeor Greens, Walgreens, Sharts and Gobbles, Barnes and Noble. He has about 30 to 40 everyday words that he insists on using in place of normal ones. Scuppers, with a rising whistle at the end, yes. Bing, with a descending whistle, no. Bagayaya, good night. He constantly does weird sound impersonations, not like celebrities or characters, but a single noise that's a made-up sound or something childish like a fart from a children's TV show. He speaks random words like garbage or douchebag whilst burping or farting. He has made up names for our friends which he uses sometimes even under his breath when we're out with them. Pam and Will is pig and wig. I've just had enough. We got into bed the other night and I said good night and he said Bagayaya in the high-pitched voice he always does it in. I snapped and asked why he couldn't just speak to me normally and he just laughed and came right up close to my face and did it again. His whistling is constant. He speaks to our kid in this stupid language and I'm worried it's going to confuse normal language development because he changes the word so often. Our toddler could be about to hurt themselves and instead of saying no or come here, he'll say some ridiculous made-up word or sound and then get annoyed when our kid doesn't know what he wants. He's normal in other respects, works in finance and is totally professional around his colleagues but different at home. I told him it needs to stop. I don't mind it occasionally or for fun but it's all the time and it's wearing me down. He got upset and said I couldn't take a joke and that I'm not fun anymore. It's true that I've become more irritable and noise-averse since we had kids but I'm so worn out and over it and just want him to relate to me like an adult. Edit, to answer some of the frequent questions, smiley face. I do not believe, but am not health qualified, that he displays any symptoms of Tourette, autism, neurological disorders etc., and hasn't ever done despite this. 2. He is physically well by all measures. He is for sure not having a stroke or significant physical health event. 3. Yes, I can see this could be a reaction to stress. 4. For those asking why I married him, he did not do this, to this extent before we had kids. Occasionally yes with the occasional name or words but not this regular. He is amazing in many ways but this one thing is now too much for me. I don't feel it's right to discount him or throw out the whole marriage because of it but it does need to change. 5. He will not go to therapy. 6. We have discussed it calmly, previously, he did not take me seriously or make changes. He sees this as funny and just a joke. I agree that we need to talk more. 7. Yes it can be funny occasionally. I am not trying to spoil his fun. I also need an adult partner at times and for him to stop when not appropriate. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Is this a real post? If it is, you got problems, OPNTA. Reply. I wish I was joking. I sometimes wonder if lockdown broke something in his brain. Commenter 2. NTA. I do this kind of stuff a lot, mostly the one about imitating stuff from shows. I quote random TikToks all the time, make weird noises to myself, etc., but I'm more than capable of cutting it out if I have to. I used to say, my guy, all the time until it became a habit. I don't know about that one, my guy. Alright, my guy. That one specifically drove my ex up the wall, and when he told me he hated it I made a concentrated effort to stop saying it. The fact he doesn't do this around other people shows he's more than capable of knocking it off when required, and that he's aware, at least on some level, that he's doing it. The only thing I can suggest, given that your husband doesn't seem receptive to an adult conversation, is that you refuse to engage with him unless he speaks properly. Like if he says, scuppers, or whatever it was, just act confused and say, sorry, was that a yes or a no? Basically don't react to these weird made-up things he's saying and show him you're not going to play ball anymore. Reply. Thanks. Yes I think this is a plan. It's been going on for so long now that I don't often have to ask for a translation anymore so I tend to still reply to his nonsense. I'm going to stop answering unless he speaks normally. Commenter 3. NAH have you spoken to him directly about the fact you've noticed he's doing this more often? Is it possible he's falling into this silly type of thing to cope with other stresses? I completely understand being annoyed by it, but if the frequency has increased there is certainly a reason for it. Maybe giving him the opportunity to open up about this in conversation as opposed to a response to you snapping will shed some light and make things easier for everyone involved. Reply. Yes loads of times. A few months ago we had a serious but calm discussion about it and I told him it was too much and I couldn't take it all the time. He said he didn't notice he was doing it so I started pointing it out and he got fed up and told me I was being way too picky. I just can't take it anymore. I'm sick of reminding him to not be so gross, burping and making weird noises whilst we're having dinner, and the high-pitched sounds make me want to claw my eyes out. He even does it whilst I'm trying to settle our toddler for bed, which just gets him all hyperactive and hard to settle. Commenter 5. Nta, but kinda, why would you have a kid with someone who refuses to act like an adult? Sounds like he is 12. Reply. He did not act like this before we had kids. He's an amazing person in many ways, but this is a new, thing that is grinding my gears. Is he high? No, I'd be willing to bet our life savings on the fact that he's not taking drugs or drinking. It's pretty constant throughout the day. Thank you though. Commenter 6. Thank you. He's always been a big kid in some ways, but never like this before. He's not the loud, obnoxious type, not one for sports night with the boys etc. It's like it was a small quirk before and now it's taken over his personality. I think he'd blow up if I suggested it was mental illness though. Update. It's been several months since I posted this, so thought I'd come back to update as requested. He eventually agreed to get checked out, confirmed neurotypical and no other health concerns. We were referred for marriage counseling and he wouldn't go. I ended it and am slowly rebuilding my life. Honestly, this post was just the tip of the iceberg and I'm exhausted but glad to be out. He also ended up really insulting our close friends and it all spiraled into complete hellfire. Stories number 18. By Jove. I think I've done it. An effective argument against the abortion as birth control narrative. My dad is a boomer. White, attractive, grew up middle class, relatively aimless and goalless, but a hard worker and an honest person. Overall, he was required to strive for nothing in life, so ultimately he has nothing. He gets by, but that's about it. But his needs are few and simple. He's also grossly right-wing in just about every respect. He believes my mother cheated, not that he would be a frustrating husband. He believes abortion is murder. To his credit, he is patently not racist, which is a relief. He also has never given any indication that he thinks women are lesser, or not as capable or intelligent. He does think we are kind of all sneaky, conniving bitches who will stab a man between his shoulder blades, which is a weirdly specific gender bias. This baffles my sister and I, who were never raised like you'd expect. Like, if he had a drywall job, and one of us was free, guess who was drywalling? We are both professionals who he comes to for advice and trusts. Maybe this inherent acceptance of women as equals, although evil ones, is what makes the difference compared to someone who really thinks we are less. But I digress. Obviously his deep-rooted belief that we are all sneaky bitches means he also firmly believes the narrative that women routinely use abortion as a form of birth control. Just willy-nilly out there making it rain with abortions like an NFLer at a strip club. Which brings me to my point. Lately, I've been trying to change tact with him in the way I phrase things, the questions I ask and the battles I choose. I had a recent success I thought I'd share. We were having a chat and he made some glib comment about women that use abortions as birth control. Obviously, I rolled my eyes at that. Of course, I told him that is a ridiculous and patently false statement that has no basis in reality. And then I said, look, I hear you. And I'm willing to listen to what you have to say. But I'd appreciate it if I could give you my thoughts on it first. You're a lot of things, Dad, but you're not a hypocrite, and I think you're open to changing your mind when a fair point has been made. If what I say doesn't make sense to you, then we can talk about why. So he said, okay. Me, so remember your vasectomy, right? Dad, uncomfortable face. Yes. Me, that is a laparoscopic, same-day, outpatient procedure that takes less than 5 minutes that you can walk in and schedule at any time. Dad, okay. Me, a surgical abortion involves a doctor's visit to confirm the pregnancy. Then a separate appointment at an abortion clinic or hospital. Most times the procedure actually starts the night before with a dilator for the cervix. For some you are awake with minimal pain management, or others you are fully sedated, which carries the usual risks for sedation during surgery. The procedure takes about 15 to 20 minutes, then 4 hours in recovery and bed rest for 2 to 4 days. You can't soak in a bathtub, or use a tampon or have sex for a minimum of 6 weeks. Dad, okay. Me, so, let me ask you a question. If you wanted to avoid using birth control or even condoms, would you opt instead to get a vasectomy every time there was a failure? Would you be lining up to do that 10 or 12 times a year? Dad, no. Me, does this sound like a good business decision for whores? To be out of commission for 6 weeks every time and subject themselves to multiple surgeries? Does it make sense that any woman would reasonably do this multiple times a year, instead of simply taking a pill every day? Dad, no. Long pause. Me, the floor is yours. Do you have anything to add that would possibly justify this actually being a thing after what I've shared? To be clear, This would be the same as you relying on vasectomies for birth control. Dad, I agree. No one would do that. I just thanked him for being open-minded about it and told him we could consider the topic closed. That's boomer man language for, we all know I won. Let's just be manly about it now and act like nothing happened so everyone keeps their pride. I finally found an analogy that resonated at just the right frequency. Vasectomies. The gift that keeps on giving. Stories number 19. Guys only want me for hookups. I don't get approached often, but when I do the guy will seem sweet and they'll text me making small talk for a few minutes and then all of a sudden it's, your house or mine, and other stuff like that. The most recent guy wanted to take me out, which I thought was sweet, but then he was texting me, you're gonna be my dessert, and other inappropriate things he wanted to do to me. Do you have no shame? Is it too much to ask for that I be respected as a person? It's so frustrating. I want to be loved and cared for, not just an object to be called up and used whenever you feel like. I used to enjoy being approached thinking this person wanted to get to know me, but now I just get annoyed because I know I'm going to be disappointed. Makes me feel worthless. Stories number 20. I, at 44, hired an investigator and have discovered my husband's, M47, affair and sex addiction. What on earth do I do next? My husband, M47, and I, F44, I have been married for just over a decade, and it has been, for the most part, a loving marriage centered around our two beautiful children. Of course, I've had grievances. He travels a lot for work, is constantly glued to his phone, and sometimes would abruptly pop out 4 errands that he has always been incredibly vague about. Initially these didn't concern me too much. He has a very demanding job that has allowed us to have a lifestyle I never thought possible, meant that I could leave work to be with the children, take us on wonderful holidays, send the children to a great school. I always felt that complaining to him about his work, phone, computer, and random emergencies would be so selfish considering everything he does for us. However, 2 weeks ago, I started getting really suspicious after I had found a condom in the inside pocket of his blazer. There was no reason for him to have it there as we only ever have sex at home and, frankly, it isn't something we do as often as we used to. This prompted me to do something I never thought I would do, but I found an opportunity to get into his phone when he wasn't looking. I'm not sure what I was looking for. I first looked at his photos but couldn't find anything. Then I thought I would check his messaging apps, WhatsApp, Telegram. Both were password locked, which I found very odd. Only iMessage could be accessed, but there was barely anything there. At this point, I had a sinking feeling something was up. Last year, a friend was in a similar situation and used a digital investigator to learn more about her absent and secretive fiancé. The investigator found out that this man had been living a complete double life, with a long-term girlfriend in Edinburgh, and, unbelievably, a whole business he had set up and was earning money from. She had no idea about the business or all the money he was earning from it, and no doubt spending on his girlfriend. I asked for the investigators' details and requested that they pull together anything and everything they could find about my husband. The investigator spent about a week digging online and came back to me with a report that changed my life forever. I got a call from the investigator, warning me that my husband's report would be a very difficult read, and that I should open it in private at a time when I would be able to process it fully. Since I received it, I have barely been able to eat, sleep, properly take care of the kids, or speak to him, and yet he is so absent-minded he doesn't even realize something is wrong. It turns out that my husband of over 10 years has been having an affair with a woman 15 years his junior, financing this woman's lifestyle and her failed business venture, attending sex parties with her, where they have sex with other partners, posting in a revolting online sex forum, including pictures of his genitals, and details his addiction to porn and escorts to his creepy online friends. Based on this posts online, has clearly been spending thousands on escorts as far back as 7 years ago. I have no idea where to go from here. I don't know what to do. I have no idea how to confront him about this, or if I should see a lawyer first. I know the obvious decision is to simply divorce, but our children are 9 and 7, I have loved him since we first met 14 years ago, and I know that I have a place in his heart too, in spite of these actions. If he is truly an addict, then maybe there is a way to get through this if he agrees to treatment. I am a complete mess and I can't talk about this to anyone in person just yet. Any advice you have for me would be really appreciated. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, do not confront him. Go see high-powered attorney to see how you can come out on top. A good lawyer will get him to cover services. Get your financials together. Get spousal support, sue for compensation, the money spent on hookers and affairs, child support, have him cover college for both children, pay for all schooling and insurance till 26, get the child tax credits for each year. Because of his chronic infidelity being the cause of the divorce, you can get more than half in the divorce. Also see if you live in state where you can sue her for alienation of affection. Get tested ASAP. Let your lawyer guide you on what to do before you let him know. Also, see as many high-powered attorneys as you can so you have the best shark, and cripple his ability to use them as a lawyer. Don't forget all of his assets, investments, and retirement. Ask for forensic financial audit for any hidden monies. Bill him for everything, and do not leave the marital home. Make Slappy Dick move out. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. But, you gotta strike hard, and be smart. And don't silver line anything or take his word on anything. Reply, thanks for this. Sadly, because we are in the UK, cheating doesn't have much of a bearing on divorce outcomes. However, my solicitor is among the best in the UK and I trust that we are going to do some real damage. Commenter 2, whatever you do, and there is great advice in this thread, please don't blame yourself. There's enough evidence in his behavior to indicate that he'd have done this to anyone, and there's nothing you could have done to foresee this or prevent it. Whatever pain your children will experience from your split will be 100% his fault and you don't deserve to feel any guilt or shame. Reply, I'm still struggling with feelings of guilt. I know this is his doing but I often feel as though I am a bad mother by not letting my children live in the same home as their father. Commenter 3, I'm sorry you're going through this. Please excuse me. How much does it cost to hire a private investigator? Reply, hello. Sorry to only be responding now. It cost £250 for an initial sweep and then once some fishy things were found, I paid more for some additional hours of digging. Commenter 4, I'm sorry you are going through this. Please seek out a therapist for some support. And please know, you deserve better. Reply, I am planning on getting therapy soon, once things calm down a bit and I can have a bit more time to myself. Commenter 5, 1. Talk to a lawyer before you do anything. 2. Know this is not something that will be fixed, or cured, via therapy. Therapy only works if the person does the work. It isn't a magical cure that resolves giant issues just because you schedule an appointment and show up. The reality is you have been married to someone who was capable and willing to lie to your face systematically. Therapy doesn't just fix that. In fact, if he has a personality disorder, which I suspect based on your post about his behavior, he likely will never change. 3. Do more research into pathological love relationships. Briefly, ask yourself these questions. Does he have difficulties with empathy, egotism, exploitativeness? Aggrandized sense of self? Distorted perceptions of self and others? Self-serving? Boundary violations? Blame shifting? Low remorse? Low accountability, motivated by power, control, personal gain? Just a brief place to start exploring who you are actually married to. 4. Talk to a lawyer and a therapist before doing anything. Someone who specializes in pathological love relationships ideally. Update. Firstly, I'd just like to thank, almost, every single one of you who has commented to leave me advice or message me privately. I took a lot of advice on board, especially legally speaking, and this has proven to be of great benefit. I apologize for my long absence and lack of replies. I hope the update below can explain it. I chose to wait until after New Year's as I did not want to rob the children of one last Christmas and New Year's holiday as a family. In the meantime, I researched solicitors and sought recommendations from trusted friends. Rather humiliatingly, I did, after much urging on this website, also schedule and go through with an STI test. It was horrifically embarrassing but I am relieved to say that it came negative. I don't know how I could have coped if he had gotten me sick because of his revolting actions. He made my job incredibly easy by flying out for a work trip, not that anything he says could ever be trusted, on the second and I immediately got the ball rolling, met with the solicitor, packed up all of his belongings into 6 suitcases, had the locks changed, and spoke to a child psychologist to work out the best way to explain things to the kids, who are far too young to understand the full picture of course. Fast forward to a week later and upon his return I, having made sure the children were picked up by my mother after school, greeted him to a hallway full of suitcases and divorce papers. I had printed out the report in full and started walking him through it before he started breaking down in tears. It was a compulsion, he was unbelievably stressed, and that if I left him he would have not choice but to marry the other woman, whereas he would end it immediately if I were to take him back. This last part was truly the nail in the coffin. I don't think he even realized just how manipulative a comment that was to make. After hours of a back and forth and of his groveling, he gave up. He was left at the bottom of the stairs in the entrance to our home with his suitcases, waiting for a cab to take him to God knows where. There is still a lengthy legal process ahead and unfortunately, it turns out that him being unfaithful etc. doesn't really impact how assets might be divided following the legal battle. However, I'm confident that my solicitor will get the outcome I need to keep the house and live independently. In terms of the children, I would rather not discuss them so as to keep it private, but it has been an incredibly difficult adjustment and sometimes I do feel guilty. As for myself, I am still completely heartbroken and frankly I don't ever hope to find love again. I just don't think I can quite trust like that again. Finally, I'd just like to add that while most comments have been lovely and supportive, I did get a number of comments and private messages blaming me for my soon-to-be ex-husband's behavior, claiming I did not give him sufficient sexual attention and that I shouldn't complain because he provided me with a certain lifestyle. Firstly, these comments are awful and betray a repulsive worldview with regards to sex, intimacy, and marriage. Secondly, our ailing sex life was not my doing and was, at times, and criticism I myself had of our relationship, not the other way around. Thirdly, just because someone provides you with a lifestyle, doesn't entitle them to treat you as if you're nothing, with no respect and no honesty. I would have hoped all would be aware of that. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, affairs do matter if you can account for all the money he spent on the other woman. You deserve half of that and it is often awarded in court because he spent marital money, which is half yours. Comb through credit card and bank statements for hotel, restaurant, gifts purchased that you never received, etc. This process is painful, but you deserve your half of everything he spent on dating her. If you can't bring yourself to do it, hire someone who will. It can also be used as a powerful bargaining tool if he doesn't want other people to know what he did. Commenter 2, hours of groveling. What a sorry reaction. Anyways, I'm glad he didn't get you sick, and I hope the best for you and your kids as you move on. Commenter 3, what a ridiculous thing for him to say. You have to stay or it will be your fault I marry this skank I've been fucking. All I can say is I'm so sorry. Also get ahead of him and put in custody agreement that this woman is to have no contact with your children until they reach the age of 18 and decide for themselves if he chooses to stay with her, as she is 50% of the reason they're in need of therapy. But if he meets someone else, same with you. The relationship needs to be going strong for over a year before any introduction. Keep those kiddies safe. Final update. I never imagined that a single Reddit post would change my life in such a profound way. To everyone who commented, messaged, and supported me, thank you. Your advice, encouragement, and even tough love gave me the clarity and strength I desperately needed. I am really sorry if I appear to have ignored some of your comments and DMs. I just wanted to thank you all and leave this final update. I will check and try to respond to messages and comments as much as I can. In the weeks following my last update, I have been navigating a completely new reality. The legal process is still ongoing, and while my solicitor has warned me that things could get complicated, I am standing my ground. I want a clean break, financial security for my children, and a future where I am no longer tethered to a man who deceived me in every way imaginable. The fact that his infidelity does not significantly impact the division of assets is a bitter pill to swallow, but I will not let it deter me from seeking what is fair. Thankfully, some aspects of his actions that the investigator uncovered will impact his case negatively. Emotionally, this has been one of the hardest things I've ever endured. The betrayal still cuts deep, and some nights, I find myself questioning everything. I repeatedly keep on going back over our years together, trying to pinpoint where I missed the signs, where I ignored my instincts. The truth is, I may never fully understand why he did what he did, but I have finally come to accept that his actions were never a reflection of my worth. I was not lacking. I was not failing. He was. Since our separation, my soon-to-be ex-husband has fluctuated between remorseful and completely delusional. One day, he is begging for another chance, promising to change, telling me he will attend therapy and fight for our family. The next, he is enraged that I have ruined his life and taken away the stability he had with our children. He has tried to paint himself as the victim, conveniently glossing over his years of deceit and betrayal. At one point, he even suggested that we could remain partners, but live separate lives, his way of trying to have his cake and eat it too. The most frustrating part has been when he makes an argument that this was a mental health issue, or an addiction issue. Actually, it is 100% an entitlement issue. I have a lot of supportive people on here to thank for making that very clear to me at a time when I was doubting this. The manipulation has been exhausting. He has reached out to mutual friends, attempting to garner sympathy and twist the narrative. I have had to set firm boundaries and remind myself that I owe him nothing. The man I thought I knew is gone, if he ever truly existed at all. His behavior in the past few weeks has only reinforced my decision to walk away for good. For those wondering about co-parenting, it is a work in progress. I won't share too much for privacy reasons, but he is currently on supervised visits while we establish a longer-term arrangement. The children are adjusting as best they can, and I am doing everything in my power to keep their lives as stable as possible. They are my focus now, and their well-being is my only priority. As for myself, I am healing, slowly but surely. I have reconnected with old friends, thrown myself into activities that bring me joy, and even started to look toward the future with something resembling hope. I won't lie, trusting again feels impossible right now. Love, at least the kind I believed in, feels like a distant and naive concept. But I also know that I am stronger than I ever thought I was, and that gives me faith that I will rebuild, in time, in my own way. I could have never imagined getting through this when I had made my first post. Here I am, sort of, on the other end of it. Still, just about, standing. To those who may find themselves in a similar situation, please, trust your instincts. Do not gaslight yourself into ignoring the signs. If you don't have 100% certainty, find a way of getting it like I did. Either try and gather evidence yourself, that you can use in court, or hire a PI investigator like I did. And most importantly, remember that betrayal does not define you, how you rise from it does. This is my final update. I am closing this chapter of my life for good. Thank you all, truly, for being part of my journey. Relevant comments. Is there any chance that OOP's husband might have an undiagnosed mental health issue disorder? Reply, I'm not sure. Narcissistic personality disorder sounds about right, but I honestly don't know if he has a disorder or is just completely selfish. Did OOP's husband cut off the contact with the other woman? Reply, I have no idea what is happening with that. Her social media posts have stopped suddenly, so perhaps he is no longer supporting her lifestyle. Commenter 1, glad you're prioritizing yourself and your kids. Stay strong, you got this. Red heart. Commenter 2, amazing how selfish they are, isn't it? He can't see beyond his hurt, his discomfort, his loss, his addiction, his struggles. Where is your pain in all this drama? Where is the disgust for being slept with after his dick was who knows where, for being fooled for years, for being lied to, betrayed, neglected? He acts like all of this had no impact on you at all. In all honesty, he probably thinks it didn't because what they don't know won't hurt them is cheater mantra. Some of them actually think they're helping their spouse by cheating because it gives them relief and makes them a better spouse or some such nonsense. Love the let's live together but apart bit. The shameless request to keep his comfort and safety and still step out, double bonus. You won't find a man to agree to this setup, so he'll keep you at hand too. Unbelievable. Stories number 21. My 28M, husband, 27M, just came out as straight. So we've been married for like 3 years and dated for about 2. In total, 5 years of a gay relationship. We're 2 men, have always been 2 men, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. My husband and I have had a rather healthy relationship for the most part. Of course we have minor arguments every now and then, but what relationship is perfect? In the end we always resolve them and our affection would continue as normal. This is kind of why I'm really confused by what's going on with us. Why now? I'm a Christian. I know a lot of people don't like the idea of that, but gay Christians do exist. My husband was agnostic, not necessarily an atheist, just wasn't completely on board with any religion. And that's fine, I would have supported him if he found peace in literally anything. He didn't need to become a Christian, and honestly, as selfish as this sounds, I wish he didn't. I know this makes me sound like a terrible person, but he changed so drastically afterwards and I miss the man he used to be. It was a slow start. He asked me about verses from the Bible, we went to church, he even fasted for Lent. Christmas this year was much more than just presents, and I was happy that I had this piece of me to share with him now. I was raised religious and struggled with my identity. If it weren't for other queer Christians, I would have left Christianity. I was glad that I still had these things we could bond over, but it kept ramping up. All of a sudden, he's going to church more than I am, which is perfectly fine, is always carrying a Bible with him, and will randomly cite a verse when we're having political discussions. I've noticed his views have started to shift towards the right as well, and recently retweeted someone saying, "Your body, my choice. You're a twink, women's reproductive rights don't concern you in the slightest." It kept ramping up. He started agreeing with the whole LGB minus the T crowd, and started spewing harmful rhetoric about drag queens, as if we aren't friends with a bunch of them. When I told him that drag queens are much less likely to harm children than some pastors, he lost his shit saying I was a heathen and that his friends were right. This is the part that caught my attention. What friends? I asked him what he meant by that, and he started backtracking, saying he was tired and that we should go to bed. I was tired, and arguing didn't seem like it'd do us any good right now, so I put a pin in it and we got ready for bed. Our room has a bathroom connected, and usually we keep the door open. He takes a shower and makes sure to lock it, which was weird, but I didn't say anything about it. If he wants to set this boundary down, that's fine, but he could at least communicate it. YK. The next day is a Sunday, and he's already out of bed and I'm assuming at church. I get up and got ready, but once I arrived I realized he wasn't there. That confused me, so after the service I called him asking him where he was. He tells me he's in church, but I told him I was here too and didn't see him. He clarifies he means this the other. I'm not going to say the denomination because I don't want to cause any arguments, church. This was news to me, especially because he never brought it up and still carried our Bible. I told him to send me the address and I'll pick him up so we can get brunch, but he tells me that he doesn't want his friends seeing me. That hurt. I asked him if we could at least meet up and he said he'll see me at home. After a few hours, he finally comes home. He says we need to talk. I agreed. I wanted to ask him why he didn't want his friends seeing me, and as I opened my mouth to ask the question he said, I'm straight. I stared at him for a bit, and he continued, explaining that his church helped him realize he wasn't going to see the kingdom of God if he continued living in sin and that he needed to leave me as soon as possible. He told them about the pastor comment I made last night, and they said that I was a devil trying to lure him away from Christ. He started repeating a lot of the same rhetoric I heard from other Christians growing up, and it really upset me. He even said that I could be saved, and that I already had the traditionally masculine look, and that I just needed to steer away from homosexuality. I feel like I'm in an alternate reality right now. I'm being told by the love of my life that I'm a devil that needs to return to Christ because I shut down his homophobic rhetoric. My gay husband is being homophobic. I'm sorry, but not once in the 5 years we've been together did he realize he was suddenly straight. It just doesn't work like that. It's not like we're in some other universe where comp homo is a thing, right? I told him that he needed to leave and that we could discuss arrangements afterwards. I still want him, I love him. But I have no idea how he could look at me with a straight face and tell me all of that. He started arguing saying that he didn't want to leave and that we could be friends, so I told him that I wouldn't be friends with a self-hating queer for the life of me. He packed a bag and left. His location shows he's at some random house I've never been to, but I assume that's one of the churchgoers he's friends with. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do from here. Did I seriously just lose my husband? I don't understand how this could happen. What can I do now? I miss him already. Update: my 28M husband, 27M, just came out as straight. Thank you to everyone who gave me genuine advice on my last post. I'll quickly answer some common questions. No, he does not have a family history of bipolar disorder or any other mental health disorder that would cause sharp changes. No, he isn't cheating on me with one of his church friends, but I will get more into this later. No, he isn't bi. I'm bi, and we've had conversations and he said he experimented in high school but it wasn't for him. I talked to his family and our friends about the whole thing. I explained we were separating because of his newfound faith and how he's acting. I told them about the shit he said and they're all worried for me. I don't think that I'm in any sorry of danger, honestly. I did talk to my church about this, and they told me that the church he's attending is notorious for this sort of thing. One of them will show up after a service and wait outside, and if someone is walking out alone they'll come up to them and start chatting. They'll pretend they go here until they've talked to the person enough times to invite them to their church. Apparently he was attending my church even on days where I wasn't, so he was alone a lot. It's really fucking predatory and it low-key pisses me off that he was enjoying my church and it led to him being taken away from me. I've had limited contact with him in the past few days. He came over last night, saying he needed to talk to me. He didn't appreciate me contacting his parents, and assured me that he is fine mentally. I wanted to start asking all the questions I've come up with since he left, but I didn't want to overwhelm him. I know he didn't cheat on me because that was the first question I asked. More so, are you leaving me because there's somebody else? His response was that he didn't want to leave me, but living in sin wasn't what he wanted anymore. How did he figure this out, you ask? After grilling him for an explanation, he finally admitted that he tried to cheat. The guy who kept coming to my church and basically recruited him was apparently so attractive that he would listen to anything he said. So he tried to cheat, failed, and went the full 180 and has decided being gay is the ultimate sin, not the fact that he tried to have an affair. This is actually going to drive me crazy. Finding out he wanted to cheat but didn't is almost worse, because it's like seriously. You tried and got rejected? That's embarrassing as shit for you, and doubly embarrassing for me. I asked him if they knew he was married to a man, and he simply told them I was his gay roommate who turned him, and now that he's straight again, I've gone off the deep end. He's an actual fucking liar. He showed me some Bible verses, ones that were just blatantly different from the ones in mine, and kept trying to convince me that I need to change too. He said that he still cares about me, and wants to be friends. I asked him what about our actual friends, and he said they're too far gone. He just kept talking and I was done with it. He isn't the man I fell in love with and it pisses me off. He wasn't even dressing the same anymore. Fucking white dress shirt and slacks and the most boring hairstyle ever. He didn't look like my Anthony. The more he talked at me, the more it was clear I didn't want to be with the man he is now. He left, and for the second time in our life, he walked out that door without saying I love you, and I was fine with that. This morning I talked with my lawyer and I am going through with a divorce. After I was done, I stopped by where he was staying and knocked on the door, half wanting whoever owned the place to be there when I gave him the papers, half because I didn't want him coming to my home anymore. When the man opened the door I realized this is who he was talking about, and it took a bit to keep my anger in. I asked for my husband, and when he saw me, the look in his eyes made it clear that he wasn't expecting this out of me. I made it clear to the other guy that I was handing my husband, gay husband, divorce papers, to end our marriage, the gay one between two men. Us, we're those two men. Because I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you wake up next to a man for 3 years out of your life, chances are you are a homosexual. So sorry to break it to you. I won't be able to go into details of the proceedings themselves, but I'm going to completely distance myself from him as best I can. His actions have been horrible on my health, and his family and friends can handle him better than I can. I'm going to miss the man he used to be, but I have my people surrounding me. I'm going to be okay. I hope for his sake he'll snap out of this one day, because the self-hatred isn't healthy, but when he does I won't fucking be there. Stories number 22. My entry-level employee gave me a bunch of off-base, constructive criticism. I am a manager in a smaller group, less than 20 people, in a huge firm. The hierarchy is pretty firmly established by my firm, but within my group my directors have given me a lot of freedom and I oversee all of the staff and on occasion other managers, who do not have the same authority over the junior employees. The expectation is that I will be the head of our group in a few years if I want it. I have a junior staff person, who has been with the group less than 2 years, who recently took it upon themselves to give me some constructive criticism about my management, none of which was actually relevant or constructive. I did consider it and actually discussed it with said bosses and they were all confused as to where it came from. As well as displeased, this employee thought it was somehow appropriate or relevant. The criticism was along the lines of, I get in the office too late, I get there at 9, for what it's worth, like everyone else, but I actually don't have set hours nor do I punch a time clock. I let people spend too much time in my office, which related to a new hire who I was training. I hogged the spotlight by training new people myself, a big part of my job since I have 2 advanced degrees, and I'm training entry-level grads, and not letting others do it. I talk to my bosses confidentially too much. I undermine my bosses when I help staff finish something before a big deadline if they're struggling. Again, part of my job, our deadlines are firm and if someone can't finish a project I will help them finish however necessary. But somehow this is rude to whomever assigned the work even though scope and difficulty level isn't always apparent at the outset of the project and sometimes there's just no way the staff could finish it on their own. We already have twice yearly reviews where this employee could give feedback to my boss about me but they thought that my boss wouldn't do a good enough job, which, what? I usually welcome feedback, especially if it makes the office run more smoothly and I know I don't know everything, but this seemed petty and like a personal attack. I'm also very careful to treat all my coworkers equally, no favorites, no cliques, no gossip. When it happened, I was shocked and not sure how to respond, so the conversation happened and I thanked them for bringing their concerns to me. I'm worried this employee now feels they can give me performance reviews whenever they have a grievance, which is definitely not how my organization works and has never happened before that I know of. In the future, how do I head off this kind of conversation from the staff I manage? How do I impress it is completely inappropriate for an entry-level employee to do this type of thing to any boss they have without throttling them? For what it's worth, this person has a huge entitlement and attitude problem, which I have addressed with them several times but they refuse to try to improve. They're actively resentful of other employees and we had to address very recently their bullying another coworker who they thought had it too easy, not that the work was too easy but they didn't have to fight for their job. Neither has this problem employee so I'm inclined to just write it off as projecting. But I know this person pretty well and I think I will need to shut it down hard next time or they will think they are entitled to scold me and keep doing it. Update. I remember writing my letter and being incredibly frustrated because I couldn't fire her without making a massive stink and throwing my weight around. The joys of middle management. The coworker she was bullying happened to be much quicker to learn our processes and had a better attitude than she did and the problem employee began actively excluding her and being snarky and rude whenever they encountered each other. After I wrote in and read all the replies I realized that keeping this person around was ruining the culture of the office and even though firing her was outside of my control, she didn't have to be my problem. I began documenting thoroughly every single problematic interaction I had with her or observed and passing it on to all 3 of the grand bosses who did have the ability to let her go, and CCNG HR. They very quickly got tired of having to micromanage her tantrums and attitude once I stopped handling the issues for them. I left that job shortly after for unrelated reasons, and last I heard she got herself fired. The bullying never got better, and I've refused to give references for this person when contacted. This happened early in my management career, and since then I've learned that if I don't have the ability to fire someone, I don't have the responsibility to fix their behavior either. I make it the problem of the people who do and keep bringing it back to them over and over until they handle it. Stories number 23. Aita for warning my brother about a birthday surprise. I'll keep this brief. My little brother just turned 30 last week, and something I did has caused a bit of a problem. Me and my brother Nate both live in a smallish town, and we kinda have overlapping friend groups. One friend that we share is named Tyler. Tyler is your typical bachelor lifestyle kind of guy, while I enjoy my family life and Nate enjoys his solitude and routine. About a month ago Tyler told me he wanted to take Nate to a strip club in the city for his birthday. I know my brother very well, and Nate has made it clear on multiple occasions that he does like the idea of strip clubs. I told Tyler as much, and he responded with, he would like it once he is there. Tyler then tells me that his plan was to get Nate to agree to go somewhere else and just take him to the city instead, like a pseudo-kidnapping. I told Tyler it was a bad idea that would just piss off Nate. Tyler didn't care and thought it would be fun. Not long after Tyler told me his plan, I relayed all the info to Nate as a warning of Tyler's shenanigans. Nate thanked me for the warning. The day of Nate's birthday I got multiple texts from Tyler asking if I knew where Nate was because no one could find him or get him on the phone. I genuinely didn't know where he was because we weren't doing anything for his birthday until the following weekend. I found out yesterday that Nate ducked everybody on his birthday by going out of town to his girlfriend's parents' house for the day. Nate's girlfriend let Tyler know that I warned Nate, and now Tyler is pissed at me because he had booked a private room and a specialty service at the club and isn't getting his money back. A bunch of mutual friends believed what I did was a dick move, but there are several others saying I did the right thing by Nate, as he would have had a horrible time. Aita Reddit. Just because I've seen a few comments already, Nate just started dating this girl around 4 months ago and I've met her 3 times. I don't know her well enough to comment on her actions or intentions. She seems chill though, and it could be she wasn't made aware of the entire situation when Tyler asked her for info. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, NTA. For Tyler it wasn't about Nate's special day but about him showing off. Having an excuse to spend money at a strip club. Anyways, it was about him and not Nate's birthday. Entitled much. You did right by your brother. Reply. Tyler has a history of helping people celebrate things, and this might have been the first time someone told him no and he didn't take it seriously. Commenter, NTA, good looking out. Not sure why they had to lose out on any money. They still could have gone to the strip club without Nate. Reply. So I learned from a different mutual that the private room was for 2 hours and they wasted too much time waiting for Nate that they missed out on the room. Top commenter, NTA. You spared your brother from being blindsided and having a miserable birthday. Clearly Tyler was trying to make your brother's birthday all about himself and what he wanted to do. Zero thought or care about what your brother would actually enjoy. Who cares if Tyler is pissed? He clearly has no respect for your brother. Let him be pissed, lol. Reply. There is a part of me that thinks Tyler genuinely believed Nate would enjoy it once he got there. Tyler has been doing stuff like this for years and usually everyone has a great time. This might have been the first time someone told him no. Update. After posting this yesterday and seeing some of the initial responses, I did feel a lot less guilty. I also felt like maybe I was missing too many details myself, so I decided to go talk to Tyler in person. I want to start this off by saying I don't think Tyler is a bad person, he is just the town party guy. He could honestly have a great career as an event planner if he wanted. After talking with Tyler last night, I can safely say that the vast majority of what is going on is all due to miscommunications from everybody. Let's start with the party itself. The main reason a lot of our mutual friends were mad is because they thought either Tyler told me all the financial details and I still ruined it, or they thought I just wanted to ruin the surprise. The private room he booked basically meant they got their own private stage and dancer for 2 hours. The specialty service was actually a funny birthday-themed event involving a cake and a birthday crown. As for Tyler, I don't believe there was any selfish motivation involved in his thought process. I swear Nate has some minor undiagnosed form of autism and might be the first guy Tyler has met that doesn't like strip clubs. Our town has less than 50 businesses total and 3 of them are strip clubs for a reason. Tyler also told me he had no idea Nate was seeing anyone, which I honestly believe because Nate is not the most outspoken of us and tends to just be a wallflower during most of our gatherings. I know Tyler comes across as a douche on paper, but he has good intentions. Lastly, for Nate's girlfriend. I'm going to call her Abby for simplicity's sake. Abby was the most misinformed out of anyone here. At her parents' house she saw Nate's phone blowing up and Nate only said that there was a party Tyler wanted him to go to but he wasn't interested. When Abby asked him why he wasn't interested, Nate mentioned that I told him about it earlier in the week, which is why he made the plans to be here instead. Once they came back to town the next morning, they ran into Tyler at my dad's diner, and that's when she mentioned my name. We have all talked and everyone is on the same page now. No one is mad at each other and the dust has settled. I do thank everyone for reading and commenting. The support I got from the comment section helped me get through the day. Hopefully this is the only update I need to post. OOP clarifies what they did for Nate's birthday. Our parents and I worked during the week and couldn't do anything substantial on the actual birthday, so Saturday we did a rage room, got him a tattoo, and then took him to his favorite restaurant. Stories number 24. My 21F boyfriend, 22M, keeps accidentally calling me ugly, and I don't know how to stop feeling hurt. My BF, 22M, and I, 21F, have been together for 2 years and have been living together for a little under 1 year. Overall, our relationship is good, but something keeps happening that's really starting to wear me down. Yesterday, I wanted to look nice for him when he got home. I kept my makeup simple, just lip gloss, liner, and mascara. I usually wear glasses, but I decided to wear contacts instead. When he walked in, the house was dimly lit. The first thing he said was that my face looked crazy. I get that the dark lipstick, pale face, and the lighting might have looked dramatic, but that still wasn't the reaction I expected. Feeling a little defeated, I went to the bathroom to take my lipstick off. He followed me to get a better look at my face under the light. Instead of complimenting me or even just dropping it, he started analyzing my face. He told me he didn't like the lip liner, saying my lips looked bad when they were overlined. Not wanting more criticism, I started wiping it off. He kept staring at me, trying his hardest to figure out where else I've altered my face, and eventually asked what was wrong with my eyes and why they looked so weird. He even started wiping at my skin, saying my eyes looked dark. I will never forget the expression of what almost felt like disgust. At this point, my confidence was through the floor. I really tried not to cry, but it happened anyway. I told him that's just what my natural face looks like. I've been dealing with some medical issues and poor sleep, he knows this. He immediately apologized when he realized he had hurt my feelings, but the damage was already done. This isn't the first time something like this has happened. The first time wasn't as bad because it was something I could fix. He told me my sideburns were too long, so I started shaving them. But this time, it felt different. This isn't something I can fix about myself overnight, or ever, really. I don't think he's trying to hurt me on purpose, and I worry that I'm just being too sensitive. It is a very well-known fact that I am overly sensitive at times, and have held on to feelings far longer than I should have. Would it be unreasonable for me to ask him to no longer comment on my appearance? How do I stop feeling so hurt when he does this? Edit, hello. Thank you for the quick replies. I just wanted to add a few details that I think might clarify the situation a bit more. BF never referred to me as ugly, just the comments above. I do think it is important to note that BF does fall on the autism spectrum, so there are times where I feel our goals and our interactions do not line up. I did ask him what he thought about my looks when he first came home. Stories number 25. AITA for telling our BIL we need space and providing a list of troubling behavior we've had issues with over the last year. Me, 29F, and my husband, 30M, have been together for 13 years. He has a younger brother who has always liked solitude and enjoys doing anything he wants, whenever he wants. He's mentioned never wanting to have a partner or kids and thinks a life of compromise sounds awful. On principle, this is fine, march to the beat of your own drum. Unfortunately, we feel this has morphed into unkind behavior towards us and our child, 6 years. We like to spend as much time as we can with family and enjoy inviting BIL out to fun events with us, often at our own expense. Again, this is fine because we invite him to do this with us and we have never asked BIL to pay for us to have a night out. However, over the past year, there have been several instances where BIL has caused issues with our child. At times I have seen him antagonize and mock our child to the point of tears, and at one point, stated that his other nieces and nephews, and even the cat, are his favorites. We've confronted him about his behavior when this happens and always tried to build our child's confidence back up after the fact, but it's been heartbreaking to hear our 6-year-old ask why BL doesn't like him. Apart from how he treats our child, we also feel he has been unkind to us, giving us the silent treatment for whole night after taking a gift he wanted in a Yankee swap. For additional context, we invited him to a second Christmas with my family and had additional gifts for him under the tree for the next morning. He only started talking to us again once he found out he had other gifts. Other examples include yelling at us while playing co-op video games because we didn't do something he wanted to in the game, and threatening to leave because we didn't want to play a game that he wanted. Most recently, he told us about a birthday plan he had that we weren't invited to, and this was a bit hurtful to hear. We told him it made us upset that we weren't invited, and he suggested making a different birthday plan so we could be included. After that, he ended up messaging us to let us know he was going back to the original plan and it would unfortunately be on a day I work and it was going to be a child-free event so neither of us could go. He extended the invite, but it still felt like a slap in the face after he knew we were upset at being included. From our perspective, extending an invitation to an event you know we cannot attend is not a real invitation. Following the birthday event, we wrote a message explaining how we felt, listing some of the examples above, and that we wanted some time to reassess our relationship. After a few days, he wrote back calling us immature, saying we are mentally ill, he didn't realize our relationship was transactional, and that he has ADHD so he prefers not to be around kids. According to him, mentally stable people do not write messages like that and we should unpack these issues with a therapist, rather than hashing out stuff that already happened. Stories number 26. Aita for tidying up in the bathroom while my girlfriend was in the shower. Short, concluded. My M32 girlfriend, F31, and I just moved into an apartment together a few months ago and I've been slacking on the cleaning. She hasn't really said anything but I've noticed her saying things under her breath or making some comment during dinner. I'm not a my organist, I know men gotta clean and stuff too, I just never really did much of it. I mean I cleaned, of course, just not like my neat freak girlfriend. Anyways, I decided to clean the house before she got home from the gym, but I hadn't finished by the time she got home. Mind you, when she came home and saw what I was doing she was really happy. I got a big smooch and promise of some fun times after her shower, so naturally I wanted to hurry up and get it done. She hopped in the shower but I hadn't finished the bathroom yet. Our bathroom is kinda big, so I figured I could sneak in while she was showering, not to be a creep, the shower curtain is dark you can't even see through it, to get the cleaning done. I do have a tendency to get distracted, so while I was bringing in the stuff to quickly clean the floor I left my phone playing the podcast I was listening to in the other room. Not thinking I just quickly mixed together some bleach and vinegar to get it cleaned fast. I know what you're thinking and yes I'm an idiot, I figured the vinegar would speed up the process but I didn't even think about how bad it smelled. Well after I mixed it I quickly went out to grab my phone and turn the podcast off when I hear my girlfriend scream. I run back to the bathroom but the steam was literally burning my eyes. She had the shower so hot and she comes out, fully naked mind you, yelling at me calling me an idiot everything. She dumped the cleaning stuff down the drain and closed the bathroom door literally freaking out at me. Again, she's butt naked and we're in the living room at this point with windows pointed at the courtyard. Long story short she's on our patio crying and told me she's not mad at me but she needs time to heal and said I should probably drive around for a bit. So now I'm sitting in my car wondering what the hell I did to upset her so badly. Ada. Notable comments. Commenter 1. My guy you made chlorine gas and left her in the room with it. While you left. After you've sucked at cleaning. 4 months. And then got mad she was mad you suck. Commenter 2. Chemical weapon Z incompetence Leslie Carbone. Doesn't clean, gets distracted easily, uses a lethal weapon on his GF when she's in a most vulnerable state. YTA barely covers this VFTM. I'm fairly certain this is a war crime. Commenter 3. No but you don't understand, she was naked when she was trying to save her own life. People on the street might have seen her boobs when she was trying to save her own life. Comments by OOP. Thankfully we don't have any pets. I'm reading all the comments now and realizing how stupid I am. You're also right about letting her be especially after the gym. I'll knock next time and maybe never try to take a shortcut cleaning again. Oh my god I literally didn't know. Should I go back home? Or call a doctor or something? I feel terrible. This is real I promise but I saw all the other comments too and I had no idea it was a deadly gas that could be made. I thought it was ammonia and bleach not vinegar. I don't know why I thought it was ammonia and bleach but now I feel really dumb not doing that instead. I tried calling her to see if she's okay but she hasn't called back yet. It's been like an hour. I'm gonna go home and see how she is. I thought vinegar and bleach was the good combo and ammonia and bleach was the bad one but I got it backwards. I'm gonna call the doctor tomorrow. My girlfriend is still all teary-eyed. I guess I got away before it really got to me. And you were all right, that's why she ran out naked. I didn't know that until now. I feel terrible. I thought bleach and vinegar are the okay ones and ammonia and bleach was the bad one but now I know. She's still teary-eyed but I think she's going to be okay. She's still rinsing her eyes out though so we haven't talked. I'm definitely apologizing. Update. I need a cleaner that can get grime out. I live in an apartment with my girlfriend. That's nice but the bathroom gets gross quickly. I need something that can get grime out quickly and easily like bleach but that won't hurt our eyes. Notable comments. Commenter 1. Do not mix bleach with anything. Reply. I actually just learned that the hard way lol which is why I'm looking for alternatives. It's good to know that bleach can't be mixed with anything at all, thank you. Can you mix vinegar and ammonia? Is it just the bleach that causes issues? Commenter 2. Are you trolling JFC? All you need is a water to white vinegar ratio for cleaning. Vinegar and bleach creates a toxic gas. Reply. Yeah, I just figured that out unfortunately for my GF. The people from AITA told me to mix ammonia and bleach not vinegar, so I wanted to see what you guys said. Commenter 3. So instead of chlorine gas you want to make mustard gas? You keen on reenacting war crimes from the First World War? Update 2. Hi everyone, you may remember me as the dummy from yesterday who accidentally chlorine gassed my girlfriend. I just wanted to give an update for anyone who was interested. I ended up taking my girlfriend to the ER, she actually was okay but the doctor was concerned about chemical burns. She wasn't mad at me at all, she just thinks I'm an idiot, she's correct. She wasn't crying because she was upset, she was crying because the gas was burning her eyes and that's why she told me to drive around, because she was worried it got in my lungs. I apologized profusely and she accepted my apology immediately, but as I read through the comments I realized that she deserves more than an apology and also I need to treat her a lot better. I need to clean more, with store-bought supplies, I won't be mixing anything, without being asked. I need to respect her privacy when she's back from the gym, and most important I need to stop being so selfish. My girlfriend is an amazing person who deserves the world and since she's staying with my stupid ass I'm going to give it to her. Thanks to all you who helped, I realize how stupid this whole thing was in retrospect but I do appreciate all the comments, even the kind of mean ones. Stories number 27. AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her kids to my wedding, even though she says it's unfair. I, 28F, am getting married next month, and I've been planning this wedding for almost a year. My fiancé, 31M, and I both agreed we wanted an adults-only event, mostly because we envisioned a more formal evening. Also, the venue is small and very upscale, not really the best place for young kids to be running around. The problem is my sister, 32F, who has 2 kids, 5 and 7. When I first mentioned the no kids policy, she didn't seem too upset, but as we got closer to the wedding, she started dropping hints about how hard it would be for her to find a sitter. I totally get that it's tough, but I did offer to pay for a local sitter to stay with her kids at her hotel for the night, so she could attend the wedding without worrying. Well, she didn't like that suggestion. She says it's unfair because our other sister's wedding, 3 years ago, was family-friendly and allowed kids. But at the time, our niece and nephew were much younger and quieter. It's become a big point of contention. She's now saying that if her kids aren't invited, she's not sure if she'll attend, which honestly hurts a bit. My mom have told me it is our choice, since we are the ones getting married and I feel like I've been flexible and offered a good solution, but she's making me feel guilty for not bending this rule for family. So, AITA for sticking to the no kids rule and potentially making my sister feel unwelcome. Edit. So a lot of people have asked if I know the sitter and I do. She lives in our neighborhood and has sit-ted a lot of our neighbors' kids. She is a very responsible young woman, around 22 to 24, can't remember her exact age. I do of course understand that my sister might not be comfortable leaving the kids to a person she does not know, but I just wanted to offer her a solution. Her husband also has a family, who I don't think would have anything against sitting the kids for one night, but I will let her decide if she wants to show. I just hope she does, since I do care about her and would love to have her there. Another reason we don't want kids there is because there is an open bar and we don't want kids and drunk people around each other, and my fiance's family loves to party with a nice amount of wine and beer. Thank you for all the nice words and advice. I will give an update after the wedding and we will be keeping the no kids rule, but we are thinking about letting kids be there for the ceremony like some people suggest. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. When it gets brought up again, and it will, sorry you can't make it. Leave it like that. You were kind to offer a local babysitter and it's her decision if she doesn't take you up on it. Reply, okay, thank you, thought so too, but just wanted to make sure. Commenter 2, you are not uninviting your sister, she is uninviting herself. Make sure that your mother understands that this is her decision, not yours. Reply, I have made both my parents and other siblings aware of the situation, since she started to complain to them, that she can't come because of our rules. Commenter 3, I guess your sister will get to watch video of your wedding after the event. You've been more than cordial and accommodating. At this point focus on your wedding. NTA. Commenter 4, NTA. You're entitled to have your wedding however you like it. If your sister can't make it because of childcare issues, then that's on her, especially when you've offered a solution. Commenter 5, NTA. She wants you to bend the rule for family, but it's a wedding. It's all family. So she wants you to bend the rule for everyone, right? Since she essentially RSVP'd that she isn't coming, sorry you can't make it, and invite someone else. If she brings it up again, I thought this was settled. Or better yet, I thought this was settled. You aren't coming because you absolutely can't be arsed to find a babysitter a year in advance for the most important day of my life. That's not how you're supposed to treat family. Anyway, someone else has been invited in your place, so stop worrying about it. Update. Sorry it has taken so long to write the update, to be honest I totally forgot about my post. Between the wedding, the honeymoon and the family drama it just slipped my mind, but better late than never right. Well the wedding happened, and let's just say it wasn't without its moments. Buckle up, because this is a ride. So after the last post, me and my now husband decided to allow kids at the ceremony but kept the reception adults only. My sister wasn't thrilled but said she would figure something out. I took that to mean she was actually going to find someone to take the kids after the ceremony. Ha. Cute of me to assume. And it's not like I don't like my nephew and niece, they're adorable and sweet when we babysit them, because they know we set rules. But when my sister is there, they don't listen to anything cause she and her husband lets them do whatever they want. The ceremony was beautiful. My niece and nephew had their iPad so they were still and well behaved, and for a moment, I thought everything would go smoothly. How naive I was. After the ceremony, me and my newlywed husband stayed to take some more photos and then we moved to the reception, guests were already mingling, drinks were being poured, and I was feeling great. Then, out of the corner of my eye I saw my sister, her husband and the kids. I thought she was just waiting for someone to come pick them up and didn't think much of it. Then about 20 minutes later my nephew bolted across the room and in between tables, nearly colliding with my stepfather. I looked at my maid of honor and we both walked over to my sister. Keeping my voice low I reminded her that the reception was adults only. She sighed dramatically, like I was personally ruining her life, and said, we couldn't find a sitter last minute, so we'll just keep them for a little while. No. I calmly told her that I had given her multiple options, including a fully vetted, well-recommended sitter and her own in-laws, but she thanked no to the sitter and apparently didn't ask her in-laws. She just shrugged and said, well, we're already here, and they're behaving fine. At that exact moment, glass shattered, my heart dropped. The entire room went dead silent. I looked around trying to figure out what happened. And saw my aunt, God bless her, I love her so much, lifting my nephew and handing him over to my stepdad. He was fortunately okay, he didn't step in any glass, because my lovely aunt were close enough to control the situation. My dad and husband cleaned all the glass up, apparently my nephew had been crawling under the tables and must have pulled the tablecloth by accident, making a plate and a few glasses fall and shatter. Thankfully nobody got hurt and the glass got cleaned up, and she lost her mind. My sister started yelling. She said stuff like, I can't believe you're choosing a stupid rule over your own family. You're being a total bridezilla, and you're literally kicking out your own niece and nephew like they're stray dogs. At this point, people were staring. My husband came over to back me up, and my sister's husband came to calm her down. She said she couldn't drive them home since she had already had something to drink. My brother-in-law, her husband, said he would drive them to his parents' place. She got even more mad and said that she couldn't leave her kids just to be at a wedding. My mom then told her that she could leave to then. My sister stormed out, while muttering about how I was selfish and heartless. My BL, her husband, just stood there looking so embarrassed before awkwardly getting their kids, apologizing to me and my husband and then following her out. The rest of the night went really nice, we had so much fun and it was just a genuinely good night. My husband and I took a taxi to our hotel around 3, the party didn't end till around 5 or 6, but we were tired and just decided it was enough for us. We fell asleep right away and it was honestly the best sleep ever. I thought the drama was over but nah, that would be too boring, right? Honestly I wouldn't mind some boring moments. The next morning, I say morning but it was after 1 p.m, we were both pretty hangover and decided to just order some pizza, since we didn't want to go down to eat with a whole lot of people in the cafe down in the hotel restaurant. I checked my phone while he ordered pizza and saw my mom had written me to not pay attention to the post, she would take care of it. I was so confused and didn't know what she was talking about, but then I saw my sister's post on Facebook. My sister had posted a full-on rant about how I humiliated her in front of everyone and made her choose between her kids and her family. She claimed I was targeting her for having a fancy wedding and excluding her kids, and she heavily implied that I had disinvited her because I hated being an aunt. And hated her kids. Some of our distant relatives, who weren't even at the wedding, started calling me out. One of my cousins commented, wow, some people take weddings way too seriously. It's just one night. Luckily, my God-sent mom and dad were not having it. They had both jumped into the comments to set the record straight, saying, I had given her plenty of options and she was fully aware of the rule months in advance. I literally offered to pay for a sitter that she refused to use. I didn't want to get into it and just turned off the phone. A few days after the wedding, my sister's husband, called me to apologize. He admitted that he had begged my sister to either accept my offer of a sitter or leave the kids with his parents, but she refused because she thought I'd cave at the last minute. He was mortified by how she acted and told me he had no idea she was going to make a scene like that. Apparently, they got into a huge fight about it afterward because he was embarrassed that she made a huge scene. I didn't really say much. We had planned our honeymoon to be from the 3rd of January till the 12th of January so that we could hold Christmas and New Year's with our families. And the temperature is better in January for a skiing trip. We held Christmas at my husband's parents and it was really nice. We then spent New Year's with some of our friends. My sister did not speak to me at all since the wedding. She did take down the post though. We went on our honeymoon and it was so much fun. We both snowboard, though on total different skill levels, him being just a tiny bit better. My sister called to apologize during the trip, but it really just ended up with her belittling me for kicking her out of the wedding. So that's fun, I guess. Do I regret kicking her out? Absolutely not. My wedding was so much better after she left. No drama, just a perfect night with the people who I love. Am I mad about the Facebook post? Not really. My mom and dad dragged her so hard in the comments that she eventually deleted it. Am I still talking to my sister? Barely. She has yet to actually apologize and still acts like I was the unreasonable one. At this point, I'm just letting her stew in her own bad decisions. So yeah. Hope you enjoyed the read even though the update is a bit late. Top comments. Commenter 1, I know people like your sister exist, but it still confuses me why they think they're always right. I'm glad your parents have your back. I hope your sister's kids grow up well, considering from what you said they get very little discipline. Enjoy your married life and may you always be as much in love as you are right now. Commenter 2, the audacity. She's got a real nerve bringing the kids and expecting you to cave under pressure. It's brilliant that your parents called her out for her post on social media. She's just unbelievably entitled. She should be ashamed. Commenter 3, given that their mom has no concept of boundaries and lets them get away with murder, I'm sure the nibblings will have nice parole officers when they're older. Stories number 28. Aita for telling my stepfamily they are not my real family. I 27F have 3 stepsisters, Jen 33, Kate 31 and then 30. My dad Chris married their mom Pam when I was 9 and adopted them. I have never felt close to that part of the family. They are all extroverts, and I honestly always hated staying with them and the chaos of a full house. I'm more of a homebody and like to be with my circle of people. My parents' custody arrangement was me with my mom all year except summer and alternating school breaks. My dad tried his best, but I never meshed in their lives. My mom died in 2020 and in the last few years I have worked to be closer to my dad and we pretty much talk at least once a week and I try to visit them so he can be in my kids' lives. My dad and Pam recently decided to update their joint will and make Jen their POA. They decided to split everything 4 ways. My dad owns the house next to what was my grandparents' house, and after they both passed, he inherited their home, so it's basically 2 homes on 1 2-ish acre of land. Currently Kate is living in my grandparents' old house with her kids. When he told me that I would get 1/4 ownership of the houses and land, I told him I would rather be bought out so I wouldn't be tied to the house or the sisters. My husband and I are much closer to his parents and are set to inherit his parents' home, and they live in our preferred area. My dad asked me why I didn't want part of my family's history. I told him that after he was gone, my husband and kids would be my only immediate family and I probably wouldn't be maintaining a relationship with them. He tried to comfort me and told me I had Pam and her girls as part of my family. I told him they didn't count because they aren't my real family. I didn't know he had me on the car speaker, so Pam heard me. Pam got upset and told one of her daughters who told the other 2 and now they are all upset. They were literally calling and messaging me non-stop so I had to block them and are now posting subliminal messages about me on social media. I have other family members reaching out pressuring me to reconcile with them. My dad is pretty much taking their side and we haven't spoken in a week and a half. My husband is insisting I should keep the peace and just apologize and do what I want later. But I'm of the mindset of the truth hurts, but at least I'm being honest. If I knew Pam would be hearing me, I wouldn't have been so blatant, but I don't think I'm wrong by expressing myself. Am I being the asshole? Stories number 29. My son's mom refuses to let me take out 6-year-old to get vaccinated for measles. So, as the title states, my son's mom won't let me go get our child vaccinated for measles, and we are in Texas in the middle of an outbreak. We are currently going through a divorce and child custody court. This measles outbreak is terrifying me. A little boy just died here, and, despite telling her this, and pleading to let me take him, she flat out refuses. What options do I have as a very concerned father? I know if I do this, she will unleash hell on me in the courts. We each have him 50% of the time. Do I take him and get it done secretly? What repercussions legally would I face, if any? I desperately need advice right now. Edit to add, I just text her again asking why she is against this, and this is what she said, why? If we vax him we are injecting him with the live virus and it can be worse for him since the outbreak. Edit again, okay y'all, I booked an appointment for him tomorrow, only problem is, there's no in-person slots until March 4th, the day of my hearing. So I scheduled a teleconference, I'm hoping I can explain the situation to her, and she can squeeze us in to get this vaccination either tomorrow or Friday. Thank y'all for the kind words and advice. I have been losing a fair amount of sleep over this. This is exactly what I needed to help me push through. My baby is worth whatever fight I'm gonna have to put up, and I'm gonna do it with a smile knowing my kiddo is safe. Again, thank you guys. Last edit, any rude comments will be met with a tired, go fuck yourself, I'm doing the best I can in a situation that has drained the soul out of me for the past 6 years. You know nothing about me or my child and I's situation. Last edit, we are discussing vaccination, and despite the little boy dying, she still firmly stands on no vaccination. Her response, I stand on my choice of no vaccinations. I love my kid to death and I can live with knowing he got it naturally and there was nothing I could do than to know I helped give it to him. I'm at a loss for words. Stories number 30. Aita for refusing to let my roommate's boyfriend use my shower. So, I, 24F, share an apartment with my roommate, Sarah, 25F. We generally get along fine, but she has a boyfriend, Jake, 26M, who is always over. Like, at this point, I think he actually lives here more than I do. The issue? Jake refuses to shower at his own place. I don't know why. He claims his water pressure is bad, but I think he just likes my shower because we have those fancy rain shower heads. Either way, every time he stays over, he uses my bathroom instead of Sarah's. At first, I let it slide. But then I started noticing things, my shampoo running out suspiciously fast, my towels being damp when I hadn't used them, and worst of all, the man was using my expensive eucalyptus body wash. I splurge on that. He smells amazing, but at my expense. So, last week, I finally put my foot down and told Sarah, hey, Jake needs to use your shower from now on. She got weirdly defensive, saying he feels more comfortable in mine. I said, great, he can feel comfortable at his own apartment. She got mad and said I was being dramatic over just a shower. Jake is now sulking, Sarah is annoyed, and I'm wondering, Aita for not wanting my roommate's boyfriend to treat my bathroom like a luxury spa. Update, Aita for refusing to let my roommate's boyfriend use my shower. Hi. After I posted the first story, some of you suggested some things. And thank you for all of that. Well, things have escalated. After my conversation with Sarah, I thought the issue was settled. But nope, Jake decided to test boundaries. A couple of days later, I came home from work to find my bathroom door locked and the shower running. Guess who was inside? Yep, Jake. I knocked and said, hey, what are you doing in my bathroom? He had the audacity to yell back, just showering, I'll be out in a minute. Like he lives here. I was fuming. When he finally emerged, wearing my towel, I lost it. I told him straight up that this was my space and that he had no right to use it without my permission. Sarah, instead of backing me up, said I was making a big deal out of nothing and that I should just share. I told her that if Jake wants access to a rain shower head so badly, he can install one at his own place. The next day, I went full petty mode and put a lock on my bathroom door, as some of you suggested. Sarah flipped out, saying I was being extreme and that I was ruining the dynamic. I told her that Jake had ruined the dynamic when he started treating my stuff like his own. Now, Jake refuses to come over unless I relax and Sarah is acting like I'm a tyrant. I'm standing my ground, but the apartment is tense. Did I go too far? Stories number 31. Aita for point blank refusing to be my sister's surrogate, because it would ruin my mummy makeover. Maybe there's a better forum for this, I don't know. I, 36F, have 2 kids, 8M and 5F, and knew after my daughter was born that I was done. I had my tubes removed and then last year I went and had some very expensive surgery to get rid of saggy, scarred skin after years of body changes from pregnancy and breastfeeding and weight loss. I finally feel more confident in how I look again, and I have zero desire to put my body through another pregnancy. My older sister, 40F, got married last year but just recently found out she likely won't be able to carry a pregnancy to term due to her very short cervix. It's obviously devastating for her and her husband, who is a sound guy, and I do feel for them. But instead of looking into other options, she cornered me in our parents' house on Sunday and asked me to be her surrogate, not if I'd consider it, but as if it was the natural solution. Before I could reply she listed her reasons, like that I've already been pregnant twice, so clearly, my parts work and it shouldn't be a big issue for me to do it again. I tried to be nice about it, and said no, that I had my tubes removed for a reason. I don't want to go through pregnancy again, I don't want to undo everything I've done to feel good in my body again. I just don't want to. Also I'm 36 now, which isn't 40, but is quite different to being pregnant in your 20s and early 30s. She didn't take it well. She was upset, saying it wasn't fair that I already got to be a man, and I should want to help her have the same happiness even if it meant having the surgery redone in the future, and that she would do it for me in a heartbeat. I get that she's having a hard time, but it isn't my fault she has a short cervix, and I don't think she fully understands how difficult the recovery after my surgery was. She went crying to my parents after I left, and they are involved now too. My mother notably said, "You'll get through another pregnancy, but your sister may never get over not being a man." She also pointed out that she sacrificed her nice figure to bring us into the world. I saw Reddit that one and reminded her that she wouldn't even take my kids for a week or so while I was recovering last year because she said she was done playing mammy when Danny left home. Danny is our younger brother, 28M if that's relevant, so she's obviously not that self-sacrificing. She also said at the time my surgery was pure vanity and a waste of money. My husband is conflict adverse, so was neutral initially, saying it was my decision, but he can see the tensions it's causing, so even he's saying that maybe we should at least look into it and see what's involved so we can make an informed decision, and I'm like, there is no we in this, and he says, okay, so then you can make an informed decision. That was a couple of days ago, and then my sister brought it up again there today, and I was very blunt with her this time. I told her there was no way in hell I was doing this, and she called me a selfish, swear word beginning with B that might not be allowed on Reddit. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to be my sister's surrogate without even looking into it? I'm not even sure what the laws are around it where we live, it's never even crossed my radar before this week. I think legally I would be listed as the child's mother. TLDR, my sister wants me to be her surrogate. I don't want to, but it's causing tension in the family, and I may be the asshole because my main reason for not doing it is that I had a mammy makeover last year. Also that I had my tubes removed and am not interested in fertility treatments or anything. Stories number 32. Aita for refusing to help my sister pay for her wedding after she didn't support my marriage. I, 30F, got married 2 years ago. My sister, Laura, 33F, was my maid of honor, but she made the day incredibly stressful. She was critical of everything, from the dress I chose to the food to the fact that I didn't invite her friends to the wedding. She made passive-aggressive comments during the entire planning process and even pulled out of a few things last minute. I brushed it off, thinking she'd come around, but the worst part? After the wedding, she barely spoke to me. She didn't congratulate me, and it felt like she was actively avoiding me. When I asked if everything was okay, she said she was too busy and never really addressed her behavior. Now, fast forward to a few months ago. Laura got engaged, and as soon as she started planning her wedding, she asked me to help financially. I'm well off and have some savings, so I said I could contribute, but I wasn't going to give her a huge sum like she was asking for. I also told her I expected a much better attitude this time around. She was furious and said that I was being petty by holding a grudge and that I should be happy for her. But the truth is, I felt like I was treated poorly during my wedding, and I can't just pretend like nothing happened. I told her I wouldn't be giving her money unless she took responsibility for her actions and showed me that she was genuinely supportive this time. She's now calling me selfish, and my family says I should just let it go and help her. Stories number 33. My dad left us 15 years ago, now he's dying and wants me to take care of him. I don't know what to do. When I was 10, my dad walked out on our family. No explanation, no contact, nothing. My mom worked multiple jobs to keep us afloat, and I had to grow up fast. Now, 15 years later, I get a call from an unknown number. It's him. He says he's sick, possibly terminal, and has no one else to turn to. I have so much anger and resentment built up. He wasn't there when I needed him, and now he wants me to be there for him. But at the same time, the idea of just ignoring him and letting him die alone feels heavy. My mom says it's my choice, but I can tell she hates the idea of me helping him. My siblings don't want anything to do with him. I don't know if I owe him anything. I don't even know what he's been doing all these years. But a part of me wonders if I'd regret not doing something. Has anyone been in a situation like this? What would you do? Stories number 34. BF fucks like a rabbit. I haven't come a single time, and I'm starting to miss my ex. I used to think people who would end a relationship over sex were a bit selfish. Well. Ick. I just feel so bad about it. It sucks, I love him, but it's really so bad. I don't know what to do anymore. The last time I was with him I was actually begging to come. I told him I'm tired of always riding him. It's always the same thing, he gets off multiple times every time we're together, and I haven't come once. Not a single time. He's not a bad person and I know he's doing his best, but he thinks he can make me come from penetration only. Sometimes he eats me out for 30 seconds and then it's over, it's jot like I haven't brought it up. I have and I get nothing. Sometimes he tries but his heart isn't into it, that I'd rather just not. The worst part is when it already hurts and he doesn't listen when I tell him to slow down. He'd just keep going until I have to push him off because I can't take it anymore. I just feel so sexually frustrated. I like that I make him feel good, but what about me? I don't even want my ex back, but at least he took the time for foreplay, to know my body, and to make sure I feel good too. Not to be an ass for counting, but it's currently 8-0. How do we make this work? Help. Stories number 35. I once blackmailed my boss into giving me a promotion. Before I begin, I have to preface this story with the fact that it took place when I was 23. That said, let's begin. When I was 23, I worked for a marketing firm. After busting my rear for 6 months as an intern, I managed to impress the right people and was offered a full-time position in what was commonly known as the dugout. The dugout was managed by 2 people. One of whom was a 36-year-old woman who, moving forward, will be known as M. M wasn't unattractive. With shoulder-length black hair, piercing green eyes, dark mascara, and a curvy body always garbed in black outfits, she reminded me of Angelica Houston as Morticia Addams from those 90s Addams Family movies. As beautiful as M was, she had a bit of a reputation. Known to those in the dugout as the Black Widow, she would sleep with guys for an X amount of time and then fire them. Word was that the guys she would choose sucked at their jobs and were going to be fired anyway. So, when she locked onto me, needless to say I was confused because I happened to be really good at my job. She made her first move at a party I was invited to as her +1. As the night was wrapping up, she took me into an empty office and proceeded to give me a mouth hug that went a little longer than she expected. How much longer? Not much, just enough for her to begin encouraging me to finish, and I responded with, "To this?" I had meant to finish that sentence with, "Absolutely," but all the blood had left my brain and 2 words was my limit. Well, I'm guessing she took this as a challenge and went into hyperdrive, and when we were finished, she said I should invite her to my place sometime. So, I guess I sucked at my job. That following Monday, like her, I pretended that nothing happened. That said, the wheels were turning. I was concocting a plan. I was trying to find a way to have my cake and eat it too. My cake being her ass and having it too being my job. The plan was simple. Film it. So, before I invited her to my place, I had purchased a dozen of these wireless spy cams and placed them in strategic places to show what we were doing, where we were doing it, and her face while we were doing it. Over the course of the next 6 months, we had our affair. She would come by 2 to 3 times a week, and I would film us without her knowledge. By the time she either got bored with me or it was time to fire me, I had 72 hours of footage that I was ready to whip out to the marketing firm and her husband. In the meeting, she was set to terminate me with a witness. The witness was an assistant that, to this day, I believe had to know what M was doing. While she was doing her speech, giving me all these explanations as to why I was being terminated, I sent her a GIF I had created of us going at it doggy style, and her looking straight at the camera, with 3 words, "I filmed everything." If I thought she looked like Mortician before, she definitely looked like the character after all the blood drained from her face. I pressed down on my phone to copy and pasted another text. "I have created a chain email with everyone's email at this firm, including your husband's work email. She needs to leave the room." After asking the witness to leave, she tried to play the victim card. At which point I reminded her that I wasn't the first person she's done this to, and called her by her moniker, Black Widow. I explained that instead of firing me, she was going to promote me, and that I didn't care how she pulled it off, or who she had to explain whatever to, she needed to get it done or I would send the email. She acquiesced to my request and demanded that I delete everything when she did. I told her I would not. I told her I would hold on to the footage not as leverage, but as evidence in case she tries to pull any shit. By the end of the month, I had my own office and was the 3rd manager to the dugout. Our relationship remained professional from that moment forward. I may have blackmailed her into promoting me, but I wasn't a jerk. Neither one of us longer works for the firm as it went out of business back in 2016, and while I've deleted 69 hours of our collection, I'm keeping 3 very revealing hours. Why? Because hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and I'm no fool.